the legendary Hollywood director. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276, Production Department. Subscription recommendation. After the rap party, Lemon pressed his temples hard. I don't know if these bastards had discussed it privately, but as soon as they came up, they started to force him to drink. At first, Lemon didn't pay attention. Are you happy? Just drink it. As a result, he vomited. After the after effects came, his head was swollen. The next day, when he sobered up, Lemon came to the company, and York had already brought people here. They are a team, and they are also a team. Luck Besson was generous. After knowing this, he didn't say anything, but just called to laugh at Lemon. This kind of recruitment is very common in major film companies. Moreover, production teams like this are actually quite loose. It is not like ordinary companies, where it is difficult to leave, because people are basically just dependents and basically don't get paid at ordinary times. They will only have income when they receive work. Besides, York and his people had some recognition of Lemon. The movie was a big hit and they received many red envelopes. They knew that Lemon was not a stingy person. It was also a good thing for them to join Firefly Pictures and be valued. Lemon went into his office. The company had a special editing room, which was also an asset of the original company. He first told Ryan to seal the film and put the post-production on hold. Then he called York and talked about the continued expansion of the production department. Salary is not a problem. I guarantee that Firefly Pictures can offer above industry salaries for project filming, and you don't have to worry about not having work to do when you come. The company has at least 2 or 3 film projects planned this year. Lemon continued, go and recruit any suitable candidates you find. Thomas already has a candidate for the filming team, and the rest of the sets, props, and art are still short of staff. It doesn't matter if it's a team or not, as long as we can get people here. York also understood what Lemon meant. With Firefly's current situation, there are too few people in the production department, less than 30 in total. It would be difficult to launch 2 project plans at the same time. Otherwise, they would have to go outside and invite other mature teams and set schedules according to their schedules. This is certainly not something a normal and healthy film company can accept. He thought for a while and suddenly said, I do think of someone, but this person has a lot of quirks. I don't know if you can stand it. Lemon smiled and said, as long as he is really capable, I don't care about other aspects. Tell me about that person first. This guy is a Mexican named Guillermo del Toro. He used to be in the same crew with me. Later I heard that he set up a studio and started making movies himself. York continued, 7 years ago, he filmed Mutant DNA, but because of the strong intervention of the producer, the 2 sides parted ways unhappily. He returned to Mexico to help the TV station produce programs. 3 years ago, he tinkered with The Devil's Backbone, which did okay at the box office. Recently, his Blade 2 was pretty good, but he fell out with the producer New Line Cinema again, also because of the interference in the production. He has a very weird personality and a bad temper, but he is a very good art director and is very good at weird painting styles. And now, New Line Cinema has said that it will never work with him again because of the filming. Lemon said happily, so, he has nothing to do now? York nodded and said, yes, but it's better to recruit him as soon as possible. He helped Peter Jackson design some of the orc characters in The Lord of the Rings some time ago. Whenever there is a similar weird style, many people will think of him. Very good, you should contact this person immediately, and it's best to dig up his entire studio. If York hadn't recommended Top, one of the 3 great Mexicans, Lemon would have almost forgotten about it. Such talents can't be let go. Even if his personality is a bit weird, he doesn't like to interfere with filming like most Hollywood companies. He still prefers the director-centered system. The producer is responsible for controlling the budget and funds, and controlling the finances, so that the director can shoot more assuredly, which is the kingly way. Of course, this is Lemon's position as a director. The butt determines the head. After York left, Lemon called Ryan and Thomas, and the three of them went into the editing room. With the help of his two right-hand men, he began to slowly pull through the huge film materials and pieced together the order that was recorded during the shooting according to the pre-division. After 2 days, the first cut of $1 Million Baby was completed. While continuing to fine-tune, Morgan Freeman was called to prepare to record the film narration. Speaking of which, this is also a major feature of the film, relying on narration to promote the plot and explain the emotions of the characters at the time. It is like a bystander combing through the whole story after witnessing it. There are not many lines of such narration, which are all turning points of the story. Morgan Freeman's line level is extremely high, and his voice is mellow, hoarse and a little magnetic, which is the most ideal sound recording. It took about 2 days to get it done. Of course, it is not impossible to express gratitude for the hard work of the person. The crew still has some budget, so they offered a salary, not much, $50,000. But obviously, Morgan Freeman was very satisfied. As a black actor, he had basically no opportunities in the first half of his life. Instead, he had been playing some rude roles, that is, clowns. This was also a kind of discrimination against blacks in the overall direction of Hollywood at that time. Later, the social environment changed a little, and the voice of blacks gradually increased. Affected by this, Hollywood was the fastest to change. He no longer lacked opportunities, and even because he was too busy, his schedule was often not enough, and he needed to coordinate arrangements. In all these years, he did not become inexplicably proud or even cerebral palsy because of the change in social atmosphere. Many black actors in the circle began to become cerebral palsy, and they went on strike at every turn and warned of racial discrimination. In his opinion, this was somewhat unreasonable, but he just had to do his best. He was not a person who liked to show off, and in his acting career, he was mostly willing to be a supporting role. He was actually very optimistic about Lemon. He was polite, respected him, and did not judge people by skin color. He was also generous, and he was willing to work with such a director if the movie could produce results. He squeezed out the free time of these 2 days. He didn't have many scenes in $1 Million Baby. Although his role was throughout the film, if his scenes were taken out separately, it would take about a week to finish. Therefore, he was also the first main actor to leave the team. After another 3 days, the re-editing was completed, and then the dubbing and the title were added. Chapter 277 Gyro. Subscription recommendation. Guillermo del Toro may be the winner of the Oscar for Best Director with the strangest resume. I mean, more than 10 years later. Can you imagine that a director who made cult films, was obsessed with ghost element, and made films such as Blade Runner 2, that Oscar judges looked down on, would later rely on The Shape of Water to beat 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Green Book, Dunkirk and other strong opponents to win the Best Director and Best Picture awards? No one thought about it, including himself. When he was a child, he was just a child who loved fantasy. It was not until his father bought a lottery and won the jackpot and became rich overnight that his life became wonderful. This is a true story. I can also imagine that everyone wants such luck and has a European emperor. I wanted to. In order to decorate or embellish a little bit of the atmosphere of a cultured person, his father bought a lot of books and put them at home. Gyro was very lonely in his childhood and often loved to read books, especially magic and thriller books. Being exposed to these niche and marginal cultures too early made his interests and hobbies look really different from ordinary people. Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Kevlar are his two favorite writers. When he was 7 years old, he made models of human organs to scare people. When he grew up, his enthusiasm for these interests shifted to his fascination with movies. In his own words, when he saw those beautiful scenes or interesting monsters, he wanted to turn them into pictures and present them. Gyro debuted as a makeup artist, not a professional, because he loved reading, but his grades were very bad, and he didn't like going to school. He spent more than 10 years on the set, working as a producer, art director, assistant director, and stagehand. He has dabbled in almost every department. After feeling that he had accumulated enough experience, he wrote and directed a Spanish-language film, Silver Claws, which won many awards in Mexico, but the market did not accept his alternative style. For this reason, he owed a loan of $500,000 to the distribution company. This guy was also cheated. There was no completion guarantee, and the publicity and distribution was fooled into taking a lot of responsibility. Of course, if he didn't do this, it is very likely that they would not push it into the theaters. Later, the film was screened at the Cannes Film Festival and was appreciated by people. The overseas copyright was bought. If this had not happened, he might have been visited by Mexican film companies to collect debts. He himself sighed, "I don't have to go to jail now." After the first time, the second feature film was the natural thing. But at that time, he went to Hollywood and was severely impressed by the power of Hollywood capital. The investor of Mutual DNA was Miramax, which was headed by the Weinstein brothers. Them again. Harvey was very controlling, and the creative freedom of director Gyro was repeatedly interfered with. The two sides almost had to withdraw the film. This rather painful creative experience also made him return to Mexico in disgrace again. At least, in Mexico, he had a lot of creative freedom. Then, he launched his third feature film The Devil's Backbone, which was also a Spanish language film. It had good reputation and market performance. While it was a big hit, it was called by Hollywood again. He couldn't help but shoot the comic adapted movie Blade 2. Although he did not participate in the screenwriting and was even supervised by a producer, he still had some freedom to put all kinds of bad tastes into it. After the movie was released, the performance was still good, even better than the previous one. At this time, New Line Cinema wanted him to continue filming Blade 3, but he was not happy because he wanted to shoot his own work in the genre he liked. So, he fell out with New Line Cinema. On the outskirts of Los Angeles, Desolation House, which is the studio base of Gyro in Hollywood, welcomed a guest. "Hi, York. Long time no see." Gyro is a little fat and wears a pair of glasses. "Toro, you look fatter than before." York joked. "What do you want to talk to me about?" The two chatted, and Gyro suddenly asked seriously, "Well, this is it." After York finished speaking, Guillermo del Toro fell into thinking. York was naturally talking about joining Firefly, while Gyro was thinking about the benefits of this matter. He is a director and occasionally guest art director, and he is very popular in the industry. After all, few people are better than him at his unique style. He also notes that the subject matter he likes is not the one that the public likes. Basically, few of his films have ever made a profit. Just like now, he has been running around with the script for more than a month. Even if Blade 2 is okay, few people are willing to invest in him. And Firefly Pictures, founded by director Lyman, is exactly what he knows. Some time ago, Saw was a big hit, and he noticed it. Gyro has always been curious about Lyman, and even admires him a little. He has been in the Hollywood film industry for more than 10 years, and the movies he shot are still not popular. But Lyman has only been here for 2 years, but he has become famous and has opened his own film company. How can I not have any thoughts about this comparison? And he is a Mexican. The United States is xenophobic, and so is Hollywood. The crew members can inadvertently show some contempt and discrimination. I guess Lyman has also encountered such troubles. But this person can still make a career and be recognized by everyone, which is amazing. The most important thing is that his new film did not attract investment, while Lyman might be willing to invest. In fact, just based on this, he has a reason to meet Lyman. Gyro did so. That afternoon, he followed York to the headquarters of Firefly Pictures. "Hello, Mr. Lyman." After seeing Lyman, Gyro immediately stepped forward and shook hands with him. Although the man in front of him was younger than him, Gyro's emotional intelligence was not low. He was just stubborn about movies and unwavering in his aesthetic sense. Not everything could make him care. At least, at this moment, his attitude was very low. Whether it was grades or qualifications, others crushed him. "Hello, please sit inside. Laura, pour Mr. Toro a cup of coffee." Several people went to the office and sat down. Gyro said again, "Mr. Lyman, I heard that you want to set up a production department of the company and you are short of manpower, right?" "Yes, I want to invite the studio founded by Mr. Toro to join Firefly. I don't want management rights, similar to affiliation, which is a better cooperative relationship. How about it?" Director James Wan, do you know? He is in the same situation. For his project, we can help find a distributor to distribute it, and the investment can be shared by both parties. Mutual benefit. I can agree, but I have a script in my hand. Are you willing to invest? Chapter 278 Hellboy, subscription recommendation. Looking out through the French windows, towering buildings rose one after another. Guillermo del Toro looked at the man in front of him, his mind full of thoughts. Firefly Pictures. He saw along the way that the number of employees in the department was not large, and it was obviously still in its infancy. Similar small production companies were everywhere in Hollywood. The only advantage was that Firefly Pictures had already developed good projects, and the market performance of Saw was obvious to all. The agent had mentioned before that Saw 2 had once again teamed up with Paramount Pictures. There was also news of cooperation released by Warner, which added a bit of gimmick capital. But this was actually none of his business until York came to him. The production circle was too concentrated, and he himself was fed up with the dominance of the 6 major Hollywood studios. As long as Toro thought about the new ideas he came up with, being rejected in one way or another, and being asked to make changes to follow the market trend, he felt upset. Before this, in addition to the falling out with New Line Cinema, other companies had also contacted him. Sony Columbia Pictures was quite interested in his new work and also revealed the idea of investing. But he has not yet agreed because one of the conditions he proposed was rejected. After so many years in the industry and more than 15 years as an art director, he wanted to show those interesting settings. But the problem is that there are countless excellent scripts or stories in the industry, so why should they choose to invest in him? So he thought of a way to sell it with his own studio. After all, no matter what, he has some achievements to show. Besides, opportunities are fought for. Even if the other party disagrees, it doesn't affect him too much. Did you bring the script? Lemon thought for a long time and said so. I brought it. When Guillermo del Toro heard that there was a play, he quickly took out the written script from his bag, and also a comic book. The cover of the comic was printed with the words Hellboy, and the movie name taken from the script was also this. I think the story is adapted from this comic. I opened the script and saw that it was about Hellboy, the son of Satan, who was summoned by the Nazis during World War II. He wanted to be used as a weapon of war to save his own side from extinction. However, the place where the secret ceremony was conducted was discovered and blown up by the Allies. Hellboy fell into the hands of the Allies instead, helping them complete various difficult tasks and smashing all forces that dared to block justice. Well, the development of this plot is very American. Moreover, this script, like many scripts written by directors, has a bad problem. That is, it is very rough. The details of the movie are often not explained clearly, and the lines of the characters are designed very little. The action scenes are glossed over, probably because they want to wait until the shooting starts and let the action director perform on the spot. However, the director usually roughly conceives the film in his mind, and the actors and photographers are still embarrassed. Lemon scratched his head and asked curiously, how did you come up with the idea of making such a movie? I think Hellboy is very cool. When I read the comics before, I wanted to adapt it, but at that time, there was no chance. Guillermo del Toro briefly explained the original intention of the filming, and then continued, Mr. Lemon, you can take a look at the image I designed for Hellboy. He must be the wildest in all comic adaptations. I believe that many audiences will be interested in him at that time. The story is a bit too cliché, Lemon said tactfully. Toro felt a little disappointed, but fortunately Lemon did not directly refuse. He still tried to fight for it. This comic has a lot of audiences, and it is naturally worth adapting. Moreover, I only need an investment of 50 million, and I have some money left. As for the risk, it should not be big, and there will be no problem in getting back the investment. Lemon wanted to help him revise the script, but the plot of the story was completely driven by Hellboy. In order to take care of the comic fans, Toro basically did not make any major changes to the settings. I really didn't know where to start. If I don't invest in your project, will you refuse to join Firefly Pictures? Well, Guillermo del Toro hesitated for a moment, but still said honestly, at least not for the time being. To increase his persuasiveness, he added, "My studio will also take orders. We are not short of work." Lemon listened and nodded. Of course, what Toro meant was that his studio had no shortage of opportunities and there was no particular need to join a production company. If it weren't for this project, it might be better to be more free. Lemon remained calm, and many thoughts flashed through his mind in an instant. He observed quietly again, and Guillermo del Toro's mentality was a little anxious. It was probably because things were not going well. He thought for a moment and said, "I can invest, but you have to agree to one condition." Guillermo del Toro said happily, "Mr. Lemon, please speak." Lemon said, "Your studio will join Firefly Pictures as you said before, and give priority to our own film projects in the future. Of course, we will also give a fair salary in the industry, or even a little higher. The costumes and makeup of Gyro's studio are the best in the industry, and his attention to this aspect can be seen from the movies he shot. The production department of Firefly Pictures is now lacking talents in costumes and makeup. On the contrary, there is no shortage of photography, lighting, and recording, and the existing staff is completely sufficient. With their joining, the company's production department will surely get on the right track sooner. As for this project, the plot is a bit dragged out. Try to focus more on the fighting scenes of Hellboy, and reduce other branches as much as possible." Lemon's idea. Toro thought about it, and nodded seriously. He is not a script writer. He is more concerned about being able to freely shoot the business settings he wants to show during filming. As long as the filming is refreshing, he will happily agree to the investor's small request, as long as it is not excessive. The initial investment budget is set at $60 million, and Firefly Pictures will bear $50 million of it. You join this project with a basic salary of $4.5 million plus an investment share of $10 million. Is there any problem? This guy was paid $2 million in Blade 2, but because the market performance after the movie was released was good, it is normal to double his salary. Moreover, Lemon is not particularly optimistic about this project. Fan-oriented comic adapted movies are usually difficult to achieve much, let alone this movie. Lemon has never heard of it in his memory. It is definitely not a market hit. Compared with investment, he is more optimistic about the future of Gyro and the studio he founded. Chapter 279 Casting, Subscription Recommendation. It took about 3 days for Lemon to settle the issue of Guillermo del Toro's personal studio joining. Then he formally signed a cooperation agreement for the project. Guillermo del Toro served as the director of Hellboy with a salary of $4.5 million without any post-production share. The investment share was $10 million, and he could enjoy the box office revenue after the movie was released in proportion. These had been negotiated long ago, and were not a problem. Instead, the two sides had some arguments about the various rights of the director during the filming and the post-production editing. After proper discussion, Lemon basically gave Toro a high degree of freedom except for holding the final decision-making power in his hands. For example, he did not interfere with how he shot, but he could not exceed the budget. For example, he could participate in post-production, but the finished film must be handed over to Lemon for review before deciding whether it would be the theatrical version released. At the same time, the two parties also signed another contract on the copyright of the film. Because the comic adaptation rights of Hellboy were bought by Guillermo del Toro a few years ago, Firefly Pictures also needs to pay $100,000 to buy out all the production rights of the comic adaptation script in Toro's hands. This includes the development of sequels and peripheral operations. Toro also knows that it is a joke to cooperate with a production company while retaining the dominant power of the project. After getting most of the rights on the set, he was very happy and understood the transfer of the film and television adaptation rights in his hands. Lemon also reciprocated and let Toro serve as a producer to facilitate his position during the filming of The Crew. After the budget funds of both parties were deposited into a bank account specially used for filming, Toro couldn't wait to start the early preparations. While Lemon was still doing post-production work for the movie $1 Million Baby, he was also helping to coordinate the filming crew for the company's new project. The filming team doesn't have to worry too much. Guillermo del Toro's studio and the production department of Firefly Pictures can completely pull out an experienced team. The main thing is the casting of the movie. because this movie needs a lot of special effects shots, after referring to the quotation from Weta Workshop. Apart from the initial project expenses, the remaining actor salaries are not much, so it is impossible to hire big name actors. Of course, Toro has never thought of looking for any first line actors to join his movie. In the office, Toro was drinking coffee and discussing the next round of auditions with Lyman with the list of selected actors. For the male lead, do you want to choose Ron Perlman? Why is it not possible? His salary is not low. We can reduce the expenses of other actors. He is really suitable for this role, Toro suggested. Speaking of which, Ron Perlman is also a professional monster actor. In his early years, he played Vincent, a lion-faced man in Beauty and the Beast. Of course, for Toro, this person is the most familiar to him. He is his direct actor. His first feature film Silver Claw was co-produced by Ron Perlman. At that time, the crew had little money. After all, they were still newcomers and everything was stretched. Ron Perlman almost starred in the film for free because of the good script. From this perspective, he had a great personal relationship with Toro. Later, when he was filming Blade 2, he decisively found Ron Perlman. When it came to the third film, the first person Toro thought of was still him. Then notify his agent, and the male lead is tentatively decided to be Ron Perlman. Since director Toro was so optimistic, Lyman had no special reason to object. As a director, when it comes to casting, he should try to meet the director's needs first. After all, no one has more ideas about the role than Toro. What about other candidates? Lyman asked. I don't have any suitable targets, but because of the budget, it would be better to find some foreign actors. Guillermo del Toro explained. Many people from other countries who have good acting experience come to Hollywood and almost start all over again. Their value is somewhat disproportionate to their ability. Finding them has a foundation and the price is relatively cheaper. Well, good idea, Lyman continued. Then let CAA, ICM and other agencies draw up a list of British actors or Australian actors first, and then we will select them. 2 days later, CAA, ICM and other agencies quickly drew up a list and submitted it. These actors have decent acting experience, and they only used $150,000 in salary to get most of the supporting roles in the movie. After signing the contract with those agents, a middle-aged white man stayed. Mr. Lyman, it's our first meeting. Let me introduce myself. My name is John Bowman, a senior agent of ICM. What's the matter? Lyman was a little confused. I heard that CAA is responsible for the packaging of Saw 2 produced by Firefly Pictures, right? Yes. John asked again, did they charge extra packaging fees? His question was a bit unruly because the two agencies belonged to different agencies, and it was a private matter in the industry to rashly inquire about each other's specific cooperation conditions. However, there were no outsiders in the office. Lyman did not want to fool him and smiled directly. 5% of the box office revenue. This is the cooperation condition of CAA packaging. Because at the beginning, Firefly Pictures had just started, and the filming team and production talents were still vacant. In order to shoot Saw 2 as soon as possible, Lyman also agreed to CAA's packaging plan. They provided personnel, in addition to specific salaries. They also paid an additional 5% of the revenue to CAA. After knowing the specific situation, John suddenly asked, then Mr. Lyman, are you interested in cooperating with us? As long as it is your company's project, we will fully support it. Actors and production teams are not a problem, and there is no need for additional packaging fees. Lyman did not expect that this guy was actually here to recruit him, and it seemed that the conditions were not bad. But what CAA has, ICM doesn't. He smiled and declined. ICM is a veteran agency in the industry. I'm afraid they don't lack cooperation. CAA dares to charge this package fee. Of course they have the strength to do so. Whether it's music or shooting, whether it's post-production or release promotion, they all provide a set of plans. Otherwise, would Lyman give this 5% of the box office revenue for nothing? Moreover, Firefly Pictures is now basically on the right track, and it doesn't really need the agency to provide any additional services. Whether to change jobs or not, it's meaningless. Unless ICM can show better sincerity, but the problem is that Lyman's economic contract is already the best in the industry. If ICM can offer better conditions, wouldn't all of CAA's high-end artist resources be poached? Tom Cruise, Steven Spielberg, we are not fools. Besides, the rules don't work that way. John was not upset after being rejected. He originally sent a few British actors to sign contracts, and after the deal was concluded, he wanted to try to poach some of CAA's talent. It didn't matter if we couldn't find him, it was no big deal anyway. By the end of February, all the shooting equipment, props, and costumes were in place, and the script, with the advice of the company's screenwriter and Bill Del Toro, downplayed the side plots and focused on the main plot. After everything was ready, Hellboy entered the shooting phase. Chapter 280, Subscription Recommendation. March 2nd, Lemon went to the headquarters of Paramount Pictures because of the release date of Macro Love. The atmosphere in Shirley Lansing's office was a bit weird. Now everyone knows that the honeymoon period between Lemon and Paramount has ended. With the establishment of Firefly Pictures and the news of Lemon's cooperation with Warner, the relationship between the two is no longer the same as before. However, this does not affect the cooperation that still exists between the two parties. As for what the people from Miramax said, Shirley Lansing ignored it at all. She is not stupid. Besides, if DreamWorks is acquired, the lack of production will be relatively made up. Why attack Lemon? In order to retaliate for his independence? This is business, not playing house. Maybe Harvey and others think too highly of themselves. Are they qualified to cooperate with Paramount to suppress the Firefly project? Although she herself is a little unhappy, it cannot be elevated to the level of corporate strategy. Shirley Lansing asked her assistant to pour a cup of coffee, glanced at Lemon, and talked about another topic. Saw 2 is about to be finished. What do you think? No hurry, wait until the post-production is completed. She nodded, and suddenly said, we at Paramount want the subsequent copyright of Saw. Can you name a price? After Saw 1 was released, the offline DVD market was very hot, which made Shirley Lansing fully see the potential of this project. She found that compared with theater screenings, horror movies are also very popular in the rental market. But at present, the development of this project is not in the hands of Paramount, and they don't want to launch many of the promotion plans they have formulated, otherwise it will be too cheap for Firefly Pictures. So, after some discussion, they want to buy out the subsequent film copyrights directly and completely control them in Paramount's hands. However, Lemon is also clear about this. He has always known the value of the Saw series. Nonsense. How can a project that can shoot 8 sequels not be amazing? He couldn't let it go because it was the company's trump card, but he couldn't offend it too much. After all, Paramount was a good partner. Lemon declined, saying, I don't have the final say on this matter. Ryan is also a shareholder of the company, and he needs to agree. After the idea failed, Shirley Lansing said, I wonder how the profits of the project that Mr. Lemon cooperated with Warner are divided between you? Speaking of this, she felt a little upset. She was even more dissatisfied with Lemon. He kept such a big thing secret from Paramount. In the end, the so-called partners got the news from Warner. Lemon said, it's about 40% to 60%. In terms of distribution, they will take 15% of the box office revenue first. How, if Saw 2 is released, can the distribution contract be reduced? Shirley Lansing shook her head and said, 15% is already very good, and Paramount's publicity resources are not bad, right? Unless it is self-produced and self-sold, the distribution terms will be set too high or too low, otherwise it will fluctuate between 10% and 25%. It depends on each party's negotiation skills. Forget it, let's talk about Macro Love. How did Paramount arrange the release date? Seeing that the other party couldn't offer a better discount, Lemon didn't want to continue the conversation. Anyway, he couldn't go back to the situation before. There was no point in talking more. We initially scheduled it for release on March 16th. In Paramount's conference room, a group of senior executives from the distribution department gathered together. One of them, a middle-aged white man, said, this is the weekend after Valentine's Day. There are no strong films of the same type competing at the same time, and the other scheduled works will not pose a big threat to us. Then why not choose Valentine's Day to release it? Because the Passion of the Christ is too strong. We need to avoid it. Well, this work that plays on the edge of religion has earned more than $33 million in just 1 week of its release thanks to crazy publicity and promotion, beating all the other works in the same period. In other words, every Christian believer is willing to go to the theater to contribute to the box office. Moreover, this is the famous spring off season, not summer vacation or Christmas. It is really amazing to have such a result. Are there any other movies we need to pay attention to? Not many. Columbia's 50 First Dates is a similar type of movie to ours. Warner's action movie Best and Hutch has little to do with our target audience, and there's also Scooby-Doo 2 from Warner Animation, which doesn't have much competitive pressure. The only other one is Touchstone Pictures' Sandhorse, which you can tell what it is just by the name. So, if we are scheduled for March 16th, the only thing we need to pay attention to is 50 First Dates? Asked an executive. That's right. We deliberately avoided The Passion of the Christ and scheduled it after Valentine's Day. Columbia also planned to do the same thing, but it ended up colliding with us. Now the situation is likely to evolve into a fight between the two of us. The winner will maximize the box office, and the loser will eat the leftover soup. What about the theaters? We are in contact with major theaters to try to get as many screenings and screens as possible. Because of the popularity of The Passion of the Christ, there are not many choices on the market at present. We need to wait for its popularity to cool down and squeeze out its screenings before we can have a large-scale screening. The Passion of the Christ premiered on February 25th, just over a week ago, when the momentum is at its peak. Of course, the theaters are more optimistic about them. What about Columbia? Don't worry, we will definitely not schedule fewer screenings than them. The competition between the 6 major Hollywood movies has long been well balanced for the theaters. We will hold a film screening tomorrow and invite representatives from the theater chain to come. Then we can determine the film schedule and the number of screens. Is there anything else? Shirley Lansing, who was sitting in the first seat, asked when she saw that the discussion was almost over. Lyman had been sitting next to them and listening quietly. He didn't have much experience with the distribution of the film, so he didn't have much say. What's more, Paramount, as a veteran film company in the industry, was very familiar with the whole process. Lyman was no better than them, so how could he have any opinions? Then let's adjourn the meeting. Shirley Lansing stood up and said to Lyman, I have something else to do, so I won't accompany you. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Lyman smiled politely and watched Shirley Lansing leave the door of the conference room. He didn't stay any longer and went back to his company. Chapter 281 Preview Subscription Recommendation. In the screening room inside Paramount Pictures, in addition to Shirley Lansing, Lyman and a group of distribution department executives, there are more than a dozen people sitting in the large screening room. Among them are executives from the 3 major theater oligarchs Regal, Royal Entertainment Group, AMC and Cinemark, and other theater groups. The current North American film market has long entered the stock game period. What does it mean? That is to say, the market for American film screenings has been relatively stable, and few people will easily build new theaters. Instead, they are actively merging and integrating other scattered theaters to expand the scale of internal theaters. There is a precedent for this. Since 2001, Royal Entertainment Group has filed for bankruptcy protection due to excessive expansion and the break of the capital chain. Investor Pierre Anders turned the tide and carried out a large-scale stock market sweep of Regal. After obtaining the controlling rights, he successively acquired 2 theaters and 3 sub-brands to establish a parent company, Regal Entertainment Group. After this, many people with a heart have concluded through big data analysis that the number of theaters in the United States has been relatively saturated, and it is no longer the era in the past when one theater can make a profit. By 2004, the total concentration of the 3 oligopolies had exceeded 50% and was still rising, with market shares of 18.32%, 17% and 15.86% respectively. In addition, the heads of several large independent cinemas were sitting in the screening room, such as Albert Mann, the manager of the private theater company under Paramount's old boss, Ray Stone. Paramount was forced to give up its theater chain due to the existence of antitrust laws, but Redstone still got a part of the large cinema industry by controlling CBS. Columbia Broadcasting Corporation, and Viacom Media Group. This private theater company can not only be used to screen movies, but also often used as a venue for movie premieres, operas, star concerts, etc. However, they only have 29 theaters, distributed in various relatively prosperous states. Albert Mann was invited by Paramount. They think that Macroll Love is very suitable for screening in these luxurious theaters. The main film was playing on the screen in front of them. Except for Lemon, all the people present were older, but they couldn't help but smile knowingly when they saw some scenes. Little Love was different from Bad Guys. The latter was rated R, which naturally rejected some audiences, while Little Love was PG-13, general level. Children under 13 years old need to be accompanied by their parents. The main audience was much more relaxed, and teenagers could also buy tickets to enter alone. When the film ended, Shirley Lansing took the lead in applauding, smiling, and saying, "Director Lemon's work is still as good as always. I believe this time it will be another well-received work. No, I have to thank Paramount for its help in the film." Lemon was polite. Elberman was the first to express his opinion. "Director Lemon's Little Love is very good. We will use 20 theaters to screen it." As soon as the screening ended, several other independent theaters also expressed their support. The executives of Paramount's distribution department had already led people to discuss the scheduling and number of screens with various theater companies. Lemon and Shirley Lansing returned to the office and waited patiently for the results. "How is it? How many screens did your Royal Entertainment Group give?" After the negotiation, many people left Paramount one after another. Ralph, the deputy director of the Los Angeles AMC branch, met Pullman, the director of Reag's film selection department, in the underground parking lot. The two often attended previews of major film companies together and were quite familiar with each other. Pullman shrugged when he heard this and did not intend to hide it. This kind of thing, anyway, on the first day of the movie's release, everyone can check. 480 theaters, 820 screens. Are you so optimistic about it? Why not? Pullman continued. Director Lemon's works have been successful 4 times, and Paramount has already said that it will give it a lot of publicity. I don't understand who can stop it when the film is still good. Besides, there won't be any more competitive movies after March. Ralph also agreed with this, but he still said, "Our company is still focusing on the Passion of the Christ and will not allocate too many theaters for the time being." "Then how much do you plan to give?" Pullman asked. 220 theaters, 540 screens, and the theaters are not located in the best areas. There is actually very little competition in the theater chain. After all, everyone can show movies. It doesn't make sense that, if you show it, I can't. So Pullman also suggested, "I don't think the Passion of the Christ can keep up this momentum. If it declines, you..." Ralph also understood what Pullman meant. He said helplessly, "This is what the headquarters meant. I only have so many vacant theaters. I have given most of them to Macroll Love, and a small part to 50 First Dates. I think the headquarters has also considered it. After all, no matter how good the quality of movie is, there are precedents of failure." He said seriously, "Think about The Shawshank Redemption and Batman and Robin. The former was praised by countless film critics, and the latter was hotly discussed by countless fans. How big was the momentum before the release? How bad was the box office?" Pullman shook his head. "You are too conservative. If you always wait for the market to show before adjusting, you will have missed the first wave of dividends. That's better than gambling style risks." The two people's thoughts were no longer in the same direction. After arguing for a while, the topic fell on another work, Columbia's 50 First Dates. "Have you seen that movie?" Pullman asked. "I didn't see it, but someone from the company went. I heard that the story of the movie is very old-fashioned and mature, and it has all the element of a love movie. It's not bad, but it's not good. If you analyze it, based on market returns alone, it is very likely to make a profit, but the upper limit is not high." "You're right. Columbia itself didn't set a high publicity budget. I guess it was also a consideration after watching the final film. In case the movie doesn't perform well, the publicity and promotion costs can at least be saved a little, reducing the difficulty of making a profit." Haha, that's right. The two laughed and drove away from Paramount. On the other side, Lemon also knew the number of theaters where the movie was shown. When Paramount executives reported to Shirley Lansing, they did not intend to evade the issue. We have basically achieved our expected goals. Including the 3 major cinema chains, we have secured 3,220 screens in 2,562 theaters. The locations of the theaters are also generally good. Increased publicity. In the last week, of course the efforts must be intensified. Chapter 282 Macrolove Subscription Recommendation. Macrolove has attracted much attention since the beginning of filming. Why? The director has a good reputation. This is the 5th new work of the director with a box office of 300 million yuan. Each of his works has a score of no less than 6.5 on IMDb. Fury has a score of 6.8, which strongly lowers the lower limit. But there is no way. At that time, it was in the transition period between art and business, and it was inevitable to overdo it, but the role still added a lot of points. The development of the main plot was somewhat unreasonable, and many World War II military fans pointed out many mistakes in the command of the action, causing the score to drop from 7.1 to 6.8. In addition, Buried 7.2, Bad Guys 8.7, and 3 Idiots 8.8 are all ranked on the IMDb rating list. The latter two are even in the top 20, and 3 Idiots is tied for 10th place with Fight Club and The Good, The Bad and The Ugly. In addition, some tabloid press releases can be seen everywhere, and it is hard not to know, let alone those fans who have been paying attention to director Lemon. That's itchy. Okay, just waiting for the movie to be released. It is said that it is all about peers. After all, since the beginning of the new millennium, although the era of blockbusters has arrived, special effects have emerged in an endless stream and are extremely eye-catching. But if you eat too much popcorn, you will always get aesthetic fatigue. Some people just love to watch stories. What about the plot? But these days, there are not many directors who can tell stories. In addition to series movies, comic adaptations and novel adaptations, there are only a few new directors worth looking forward to, and Lemon is the best among them. The key is that he can shoot movies quickly, unlike Quentin and others, who wait 2 or 3 years to make a movie. Most of the time is not spent on how to shoot, but on the arrangement of the story. As soon as the trailer of Macrolove was released, the discussion on TV stations and the internet has never stopped. Many local tycoon fans have begun to prepare to call on fans in their own state to book a theater together to support it. Paramount released a Macrolove in March. Needless to say, resources are tilted. After all, they also want to make money, which is roughly consistent with Lemon's purpose. They have spent a total of more than 5 million in publicity funds. After the release, they will decide whether to add more, based on the market performance. Of course, all of this is what the distributor needs to do in the signed distribution contract. By the last week, the offline layout was basically in place. Floor advertising, bus stops, subway lines, TV broadcasts, and patch promotions. Anyway, a lot of money has been spent. It is still unknown how many audiences can be attracted to the theater, but the heated discussion on the internet can be seen. A Yahoo community first floor, I'm the first one. Is it necessary to talk about director Lemon's works? My girlfriend and I have already booked tickets second floor. I just watched the trailer. Although I don't know the heroine, I like her appearance. I have bought the ticket for tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. third floor. It looks like a love movie, and there are no big stars. If it wasn't for the fact that it was directed by Lemon, I wouldn't watch it at all. To be honest, I still like movies about brotherhood like Bad Guys. Can we continue next time? Will Bad Guys 2 be filmed as promised? Floor 4. I can tell from the third floor that I don't like reading newspapers. The director said last time that he would not make a sequel. The story is over, and he doesn't want to tell how they fought from small gangs to high-level executives, because there is no need. Also, is the last shot that flashed by Sophie Marceau? I have heard that she will star in it. I look forward to it. Floor 5. If you want resources, you can add my community account. Welcome to send a private message xxxxxxxxx. Since the preview ended, Lemon has become a salted fish. Anyway, he doesn't follow the publicity. In the early years, He was not famous and needed to go on various variety shows to cheer for his fame, but now it is unnecessary. On the contrary, he thinks that the roadshow publicity after the movie is released is a good way to attract box office. I slept until noon, and Eva was no longer around. I guess she flew to Montreal, Canada to shoot the exterior. After dinner, I was sitting lazily on the balcony, enjoying the rare bright sunshine. A phone call came in. Heath Ledger, what do you want to talk to me about? Will there be a premiere for the movie? Where? It turned out that this guy knew that Lemon's new movie was released and wanted to come to support it. Of course, he appreciated such kindness. No plans. It will be released directly tomorrow. Paramount wanted to hold one to increase the momentum, but Lemon thought it was unnecessary. Okay, I'm quite busy here. Heath Ledger breathed a sigh of relief on the other end of the phone. Some time ago, Brokeback Mountain turned over and reshot some scenes which had already exhausted the main creators. Moreover, because of the high popularity of Bad Guys as the leading actor in it, he also benefited a lot like Cage. Many film companies have sent invitations, and under the selection of the agent, he also took 2 plays. One is the sports drama movie Lords of Dogtown directed by Catherine Hardwicke and co-starred by several young actors, and the other is Casanova written by Michael Christopher, but it is not yet known who directed it. Unlike Cage, his choice is more inclined to expand his acting range. That is, he took the initiative to abandon some commercial works and instead chose those strange themes and roles that are completely different from his previous screen images. This is also the advice of his agent. At present, he is not short of achievements, but rather of qualifications. This requires him to go to the niche film circle to hone his acting skills and adapt to more comprehensive roles. If you have anything, call me at any time. After all, he also acted in Macro Love, and as the main creator, he can't easily avoid the roadshow promotion later. Well, if you have nothing else, I'll hang up first. Lemon said, pressed the end call button, and threw the phone aside. After a rest, he went back to the bedroom to turn on the computer. After a little search, he saw a lot of posts about the release of Macro Love. After reading those messages, Lemon didn't know whether to be surprised or what. Before the release, there were already fans comforting him or persuading him to direct other types of movies. Isn't this a little fast? Of course, there are also many supporters, which made him a little relieved. But after all, the audiences of movies are different. Some people like to watch movies with a deeper plot, some people like to watch movies with intrigue and brainstorming, and some people like to watch handsome men and beautiful women to satisfy their eyes. Anyway, no matter how it is filmed, there will always be people who are not satisfied and don't get his point. Lemon knew this when he first became a director. After flipping through the post, I felt that it was pretty good, so I turned off the computer. Now, we still have to wait and see how it goes after the release tomorrow. Chapter 283 Macro Love. March 16th. Lemon faced another test in his life. There was nothing fancy, and even few media events were held. Apart from the movie posters on billboards in the streets and alleys, Macro Love has no more means to attract audiences. It relies purely on a name, and has a posture of letting everything go with the flow. China National Theatre. People are coming in and out of the door. Hollywood movies are in a period of continuous development. It can be seen that the upper limit of the total box office is getting higher and higher. Independent theaters are more concentrated to form theater chains, which is also conducive to scheduling, and American audiences also prefer watching movies as a leisure activity. Chris made an appointment with his girlfriend Sissy to watch a movie today. They are not old, only 15 years old, but young couples like them can be seen everywhere on American campuses. Rather than being precocious, it is better to say that this is the social atmosphere. Entering the theater lobby, scanning the promotional posters in the poster column, Chris pointed to the C report that took up the largest space in the cinema and said, "Let's go watch Macro Love. It seems to be a love movie. Yeah. I like that director very much. Lyman last. I can't watch many of his movies. I still rent discs to watch at home. You can this time. It says PG-13 on it." On the other side, in a cinema in Chicago, Bella ran to support it early in the morning as usual. Entering the theater, she subconsciously looked around and found that the attendance rate was quite high. About 80% of the seats were occupied. Thinking about it carefully, it was quite normal. After all, the director had a reputation. Now it was the first weekend after Valentine's Day. Many people have not yet broken free from the holiday. Couples are still the mainstream of watching movies. Not long after, the lights in the theater went out one by one, leaving only the big screen in front that began to light up. The melodious background music sounded, and the blue butterfly fluttered its wings. As the butterfly disappeared above the light spot, the logo animation of Firefly Pictures was also played at the beginning of the film. Unfortunately, the people in the theater were not interested in this. Most of the logos that they can identify with are old film companies, such as Paramount's classic animation of a lion roaring on a snowy mountain. As soon as it appears, there is some inexplicable feeling. The screen goes black and then brightens again, and the main film has begun. I have always wanted to shoot a love story, a simple love story, such as why this woman is with this man instead of that man, but maybe a few years later, she may marry someone else. It seems that there is no clear definition of love. Everything between people seems natural and simple, but it is not always the case. After the narration, the camera gave a woman's hand. She was holding a camera, standing on the second floor of a train station, looking at the crowd in the hall below. The camera slowly moved, and pairs of men and women who were talking and laughing kept emerging. Then, the camera was aimed at herself, a development with Eva Green as the main perspective. The soft piano music appeared at the right time, and the elegant melody made people want to immerse themselves in it, just like a sour smell of love. Thomas did learn how to take good pictures of women. He easily discovered Eva's greatest advantage, her pupils, and he used his lens to magnify this breathtaking beauty. Just one appearance has a preemptive effect. In the theater, many boys' eyes were fixed on the movie. I wonder if they will lose their love after watching this movie. Forget it, I wish you the best. Under the bright light, the cheerful crowd, Eva quietly watched all this, like a loyal bystander, recording it all. The sharp and clear combination of the shots that were constructed one by one switched. The picture slowly turned yellow and faded, and subtitles began to appear on the big screen. Director, Lyman last. Starring, Eva Green, Sophie Marceau, Heath Ledger, Jack Gyllenhaal. Meeting a person changed my life. I liked him a little, and I knew he liked me, but we didn't end up together. Under the camera, Eva Green flipped through letters or photos, wanting to laugh, but for some reason, tears also fell. When it comes to love, there will always be people who are at a loss. The picture began to rotate, like a scroll, jumping from this point in time to the sunny 10 years ago. Eva also became younger, dressed in a youthful manner, standing alone at the intersection of the town, worrying about her job. The landlord began to urge the rent again. She took out a small box from under the bed and counted the savings inside. It was not enough. She took out most of it and discussed with the landlord for a few days of grace. The landlord agreed, but she did not have a high degree of education, and it was not easy to find a job. By chance, she went to interview for another job. The interview location was a mansion, and the protagonist of the mansion was a well-known local tycoon. Their youngest son had a car accident and his lower body was paralyzed. He could no longer take care of his personal life. The mother wanted to find a nanny for her son for many reasons. While chatting with his mother, the camera came to a room. A man was lying on the bed, and even in his sleep, his brows were still frowning. Next to him was food that had been overturned and had not been cleaned up yet, and the fragments of the plate were scattered everywhere. The two simple shots seemed to have explained the man's predicament. Bella smiled and felt that the movie was becoming more and more interesting. The main perspective used by Lyman and the connection of the narration added a bit of drama to the movie. After telling the result and then reversing the process, it is still so exciting. Especially the change in the temperament of the heroine, from maturity to immaturity, under the effect of the camera. The two different beauties have become very intriguing. Do you have any nursing experience? I haven't done it, but I promise I can learn quickly. I'm very capable. Eva now looks like a country girl, with her hair wrapped in a headscarf. The rich mother had a good first impression of her, but she hadn't decided to let her stay. Eva was a little anxious, and her fingers pinched the corners of her clothes and kept rubbing them. Well, if you don't understand anything, you can ask Terry. Terry is the housekeeper of the mansion. In this way, Eva got the job. She was very happy and kept saying thank you. That was my first meeting with him. I didn't have a very good impression of him. Eva's calm voice mixed with the soft piano melody made the audience's emotions rise and fall along with the plot. He was a little self-destructive at that time. I actually hate such people. When I was very young, I learned to be independent and live alone, but he didn't. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284 Macro Love, Part 2. Even though it was the second time she stepped into this place, it was still so novel. The life of rich people was something she had never experienced before. Eva greeted the housekeeper, who took her to meet Will, the person she needed to take care of. Will, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, was sitting in a wheelchair, and on the carpet next to him was the breakfast he had just spilled. Eva saw it and frowned, but still took it, and prepared to clean it. Will was not surprised at this uninvited guest. This was not his first carriage either, but the previous ones couldn't stand it and left. Who is she? Her name is Martha. Will didn't say anything else. Martha was actually a little curious about Will, but the housekeeper advised her not to ask about his past. This was a very pertinent suggestion, and Martha listened to it. She would feed him every day, massage him, and push him out for a walk. Sometimes Will would be inexplicably irritable, lose his temper for no reason. Martha endured all this silently. Soon, she received her first salary, a very generous salary, enough to solve her embarrassment. Martha gave the landlord the remaining rent. She was very happy and asked the landlord about the origin of the family. She mainly asked about Will's past. The landlord had been in the local area for a long time and knew him. She said that the child used to love to laugh and was very cheerful. He was educated and good looking and was the object of fantasy for many girls in the town. However, since the accident a year ago, he rarely appeared in front of everyone. Later, day by day, Martha became more and more familiar with Will. She knew that he used to love sports, but ironically, the car accident took away his athletic ability. After getting along for a long time, they would often chat together. Martha was stupid and lacked knowledge of the world, but Will was different. He knew a lot and liked photography. He would teach her how to use images to record the imprints in life. I don't know if he was really attracted by the unique charm of this woman or moved by her optimistic attitude. Will gradually stopped being cold and calm, and he would also joke, "I was wondering, can you really take care of people?" In the garden, Martha, who had just learned how to use a camera, seemed to have forgotten Will's existence, holding the camera and shooting everywhere. "Oh, sorry." Martha stuck out her tongue, walked away from a beautiful flower, and held the wheelchair again, continuing to push forward. "Can you take a picture for me? Right here." Looking at the beautiful scenery around her, Martha's voice changed. Her emotions became cheerful and lively, acting as a more three-dimensional behavior, not just relying on facial expressions. Body language, recitation, and movement are all part of the performance skills, and Eva undoubtedly has a good grasp of them. Okay. At dusk, in the corner of the garden, a boy sitting in a wheelchair took a picture of a girl with a sweet smile. Her smile seemed to have a kind of magic, which made the audience in the theater fall into the light and shadow world constructed by the movie. Everyone sat steadily, not wanting to miss any shot. Will could see Martha every day when he woke up, and she would say good morning to him kindly. They would also wander around the castle every day. The days passed by accompanied by a light-hearted guitar tune produced by Hans Zimmer's studio for the film. Panoramic, medium, long, close, short shots and various photography arrangements were used to show all this. Martha would ask Will many strange questions, such as, is there a water monster in the Venice lake? She would also push Will to sprint down the slope to experience the thrill of speed. She even encouraged Will to go out for a walk and visit the town at the foot of the mountain. No matter what, she always accompanied him. Although the two never expressed their affection for each other, they were like a real couple, and the sweetness made the audience immersed in this dream. However, dreams will wake up. At Will's birthday party, he confessed his heart for the first time. I don't want you to miss everything that others can give you. More selfishly, I don't want you to look at me one day and feel even a trace of regret and pity. I can't live like this. I can't do it. Bella saw this scene and had some ominous premonitions in her heart. How could she forget that this director had made films like Fury, Bad Guys and Buried that didn't follow the rules? The fate of his characters was always hard to describe. He was a bad guy who tortured the audience's emotions at any time. The beauty in the past seemed to have made people forget that Will had a desire to die. Martha's clumsy words of comfort and Will's gradually firm determination made Bella feel a little stuffy in her chest. Although she always felt that the creativity of love movies was seriously insufficient, the warm pictures of daily life made her completely intoxicated. She was also very happy to see Will and Martha get married, but it seemed that the development of the plot was still deviating step by step. Will was a person who had seen the vast world and experienced a satisfying and beautiful life, so he also wanted Martha to experience that kind of happiness. Because he knew the pain of being trapped in a wheelchair, he didn't want to trap her by his side. That's too selfish. Life should not only be about love. I love you, and then I lose you. I don't regret loving you, and I face losing you calmly. If I could do it again, I would still love you. I like the changes you bring to me, discussing movies, books and the world together, and all the scenery we have seen together. I will remember you. That is the trace itself. Will was too sober, and this is why the dream was broken by his own hands. It is so painful to live, so painful that you are right in front of me, but I can't take the initiative to hug you. What a sad thing that would be. He understands that there are too many barriers between them. Will love really be slowly worn away in this sense of powerlessness? Compared with being confused about the future that cannot be determined at all and unable to find the light of hope, letting go is the best choice. People expect love to get and want to have, but some people lose it after having it. Maybe it is not loss but long-term retention. As a mature person, you must learn to respect. Martha respects Will, and their encounter has become a better self. Bella thinks so. Very realistic. There is almost no substantial shot to express the coldness and the understatement and the disappearance of a life. Completely suppressed in Martha's tearful and smiling shot. At this moment, as if she felt the same, Bella's heart was filled with turbulent emotions, bewilderment, sadness, and what else? She doesn't know. She could understand, but she couldn't do it. Perhaps she wasn't as selfless as Will. In the end, the letter was also to comfort Martha. Your improvement is the greatest achievement of my life. You must be well. I will continue to accompany you in another way. Chapter 285 Macro Love, Part 3. The story of Martha and Will is over, but the movie is not. 10 years later, Martha has become a girl who likes to record her life with a camera. The camera turns and enters the second story at the train station. The appearance of the characters is simpler. With a lot of flashbacks and cuts, the life of a young literary man is told in less than 3 minutes. He works in a company during the day and works part-time in a music store at night. The former is to make a living, and the latter is his interest. The boy dares to pick up the guitar and sing the songs he wrote, only when it is late at night and no one is around. One day, he was called to the office by the company's creative director because of a mistake at work. When the director, played by Sophie Marceau, raised his head and spoke, there were many exclamations in the entire theater. Sophie Marceau, dressed in a workplace, still has a unique charm, and few people can resist the mature charm of a woman. This is true for the audience, and so is the boy. He was so shy that he could hardly speak a complete sentence. For Bella, these two stories unfolding from different perspectives are also quite novel. One is from Martha's perspective, and the other is from the boy's perspective. They still tell the story of a love that seems to exist, but does not exist. The boy still sings his own songs in private. On the streets at night, he sits at the door of the music store and plays alone. But he unexpectedly meets the director, who is going home. She lives nearby. Sometimes fate is so wonderful. Before they knew each other, the boy didn't notice her every time she passed by, but when there was a certain relationship, it was particularly profound. The director thought the boy was very interesting and became the boy's only audience. The heart of an unrecognized literary youth is fragile. At this time, even a smile of appreciation is like a great encouragement. The boy and the director have a deeper contact. Slowly, the two of them have feelings that no one has said clearly, but secretly grow. The relationship between them has always been ambiguous, but every time the boy musters up the courage to take a step forward, the director takes a step back. She had a failed marriage before, and she is 10 years older than him. It is difficult to overcome the hesitation in her heart to get this relationship. In terms of expressing love, the latter story is far more subtle than the former. How do you say, "Do you love him" in Czech? The boy asked. The director knows many languages. Do you love her? The director said it again in Czech. The boy mumbled for a while and learned to say it. So, do you love him? I love you, the director said with a smile. This sentence was still in Czech, and the boy didn't understand it. He asked in confusion, "What did you say?" "Nothing, let's go." Love or not is not an equation that must be solved. This kind of suspended state that seems to exist and not exist makes the following plot seem very comfortable. They went to see the sea together, went to the opera together, and played songs together in the music store when no one was around. In the end, the director still backed down and took the initiative to transfer to the British branch and separate from the boy. She wrote in the letter, "Choosing someone to spend your life with is one of the most important decisions for everyone, forever. Because if you make the wrong decision, life will become gray. Sometimes you don't even realize it until you wake up one morning and find that many things will pass. I think we all know this, Alex. I also hope that I didn't take it for granted. I think I might be like this because sometimes I'm scared." The boy Alex looked at the letter and sang Yellow created by Coldplay, and tears came to his eyes again. Look at the stars, look up at the starry sky, look how they shine for you, look at them blooming and shining for you, and everything you do, and your every move. Gethage were all yellow, but full of timidity and shyness. I came along, I followed your breath, I wrote a song for you, write a song for you, and all the things you do, recall all your actions and smiles. It was called Yellow, and named the song with yellow. The song is gentle, just like Alex's personality. The lyrics are innocent and full of love for the girl. The boy's silence made the audience and critics who watched the film feel touched. "Can't get it again," Bella exclaimed softly, not caring whether the director could hear her. She looked at the screen quietly, feeling the boy's sadness. The camera turned, and the boy was in the music store again, wiping the dust. He didn't seem to do anything about it. Is everything over? It was raining, and the story seemed to have told the ending. If it was a previous love movie, Bella would know very clearly that the two would definitely get together in the end, and it would end with a long and vigorous kiss. But the style of the first story has already shown that director Lyman is different from others. So, she couldn't guess. Sporadic discussions in the viewing hall came one after another. Is it like this again? Come on, the boy's not Will, why don't you go find her? Who cares about the secular prejudice? What's wrong with being 10 years older? Go find her. What a cold-blooded director. Don't you have a girlfriend? Personal attacks are not advisable. Hey, if this ending ends in this way again, Bella would feel a little cruel. She was looking forward to a turnaround, but Alex was still living as usual. Bella frowned, and it was still raining outside, as if to show that Alex had not really made up his mind. It was not only her who was hesitating, but also him. Suddenly, a montage appeared, and the picture turned to the British director again. She was in the company's office, handling official business. The camera zoomed up, and it could be clearly seen that it was sunny outside. This was a very clear signal. But I don't know if the timeline of this shot is still as big as before. Maybe several years have passed. At the edge of the picture, someone knocked on the door of the office. A man broke into the camera. Although his face was not shown, the joy on the girl's face could not be concealed. Bella straightened her back, stared at the screen with her eyes, and the expectation in her heart began to accumulate. "I love you." This was the first sentence the man said. The director still didn't give him a shot of his face, but the audience knew that this sentence was in check. The melodious background music gradually rose. The camera turns again and arrives at a music store. The girl and the boy play the song together as usual. On the street outside, the sun shines in through the window, rendering the entire composition golden. The whole shot is incredibly beautiful. It is also the light and shadow charm created by the movie. Please match it with songs for better effect. PS. I didn't break the chapter. I have used up all the manuscripts I have saved. I'm going to become a salted fish. Give me some motivation, everyone. Chapter 286 Maturity. Subscription recommendation. The film ended, and the audience just woke up from their dream. The director used her stories to plainly tell the love between men and women. It was not so grand and earth-shattering, but more like meeting the right person at the right place and the right time. Will chose to let go of his love for Martha. Alex, a young literary man, chose not to back down from his love for the director. The two different ways are ultimately the same thing. The shots of the whole movie are always very tactful and restrained. As the film said at the beginning, it is to shoot a simple love story. The director did it, and it was so wonderful that people were reluctant to miss a scene. Even if the plot is not so conflicting, and there is not even a kiss at the climax of the picture, there is a desire to attract people to watch it. Bella looked back and glanced around with a bad taste at this moment. As she expected, even when the subtitles began to appear, no one left. With the bright light of the screen, you can see that many people's faces are full of envy, and they are obviously dazzled by the love portrayed in this movie. Maybe everyone is fantasizing about putting themselves into the scenes of the movie. I have to admit that there is such magic. At the age of longing for love, who hasn't had such a fantasy? Every girl has sketched out what their Prince Charming would look like countless times in her heart, and every boy has thought about having a relationship with someone and completing the journey hand in hand. Bella sighed. Although she really wanted to keep the beauty at this moment, she had to accept the reality she was still single. In addition, she was a film critic and had to write a manuscript when she went back. When Bella was thinking about where to start to write an article that would be passed by the editor-in-chief, the lights in the hall came on again, and the audience's mind was pulled back again. In fact, she was quite relieved that the director gave a satisfactory ending to the next story. Otherwise, if it was still a tragedy, she would definitely not have the heart to think about these. She also made up her mind again in her heart that she would continue to watch director Lyman's next work as soon as possible. It's so romantic. Why don't you know any musical instruments? You don't know either. Get lost. In the front seat of Bella was a couple. Listening to their discussion, I still think it's quite funny. Will is such a nice guy, so handsome. I think Martha looks pretty, especially the way she dresses for the birthday party later. Alex is good, and he can play the guitar. Sophie Marceau is still so beautiful. I want to see it again. Such discussions were heard everywhere. At the same time, after getting the audience's reaction, Andrew David, the head of Paramount's marketing department, immediately called Shirley Lansing and reported, "President, the investigators we arranged sent a message saying that the atmosphere in the theater was very good. Almost no one left early, and most of the opinions on the movie were praiseworthy. It seems that Lyman's movie should perform well again. I know. Anyway, it will be what it is." McCrolove performed well, which means Paramount performed well. The theater chain should urge them to arrange it more. For publicity, follow the steps. Shirley Lansing hung up the phone and turned to look at Steven Spielberg, who was sitting opposite her. Jeffrey Katzenberg, the animation department executive who once served as the executive director of Disney Films, and David Geffen, who is known as the American Godfather in the record industry. The three of them also founded DreamWorks together. What do you think? Jeffrey Katzenberg looked at Spielberg and David Geffen and was embarrassed to speak because before this, the animation department under his jurisdiction had been split and listed, and this acquisition case had nothing to do with DreamWorks Animation. The valuation of $2.5 billion is too low unless you are willing to bear our debt. It was David Geffen who spoke. You have to know that the three founders of this company only took $100 million each, and the remaining funds were raised from Paul Allen, the founder of Microsoft, and the Lee family of Samsung Group $800 million, and finally opened a loan line of $1 billion from **** bank. After all, if you want to create an independent film kingdom that is not controlled by the consortium, based on the fields of film, television, music, animation, etc., and be able to resist the 6 major Hollywood companies, you need ambition and strength, and the capital reserve cannot be low. Unfortunately, although the idea is good, because the goals are too scattered, the capital recovery is too fast. DreamWorks felt a little powerless after a few years of its establishment. Before Paramount contacted them, DreamWorks had already planned to sell its own record company to Universal Music. This is also why David Geffen is somewhat proactive. He wants to cash out. If you want us to bear external debts, it's fine. In addition to all copyrights and equity, the acquisition funds will be reduced to $1.3 billion. How about that? Too low. DreamWorks now has a loan of $1.4 billion. I think my offer is reasonable. But it's not paid off in one go, so there's a lot of room for turnover. Also, DreamWorks owns all the copyrights to more than 50 films, including well-received works such as Saving Private Ryan and Gladiator. I think Paramount's offer is a bit low. What about the employees? I can't lay off all of them. Aren't those people a burden? Upon hearing this, Steven Spielberg couldn't help but say, they are all very capable at work. Paramount doesn't need so many people. Let's talk next time. I have something to do. After the three giants of DreamWorks left, Shirley Lansing found the team members in charge of the negotiations and said, continue to contact and lower their bottom line. Maybe David Geffen will be a breakthrough. Who would be willing to pay a high price to acquire DreamWorks at a lower price? Although Shirley Lansing felt that Steven Spielberg was capable and could improve Paramount's production level, she had to find a way to resolve the complex external debts and equity circulation. She didn't want to pay so much, but solve a big problem for others and still not get a complete DreamWorks. To be honest, if she wanted to, she would still like to acquire Firefly Pictures. Especially now that the performance of McCrow has proved Lemon's ability to make films. She has contacted him privately, but both Ryan and Lemon were unmoved, and she couldn't do anything. She can only hope that the joining of DreamWorks will be a good move, and Paramount will make changes. Chapter 287, Promising Future, Subscription Recommendation. It's almost 12 o'clock, aren't you going to bed yet? Ryan said, biting an apple in his mouth. The place is at Lemon's house. When Eva is not back, Thomas and Ryan will also live in the mansion. In fact, there are quite a lot of rooms, but if Eva is there, they will avoid it and go to the hotel to sleep. Although Lemon thinks it is unnecessary. I can't sleep. I want to wait for the box office data of McCrow. Lemon sat at the computer desk and replied, you can watch it tomorrow. Actually, you can watch it tomorrow, but I want to know it earlier. Even if he has made so many movies, he will still feel a little unsure when it comes to the release. After all, there are really few love movies like McCrow in Hollywood. Lemon is a little worried that the audience will not accept the less passionate love. After all, love movies like Titanic that are ups and downs, desperate, bold and direct seem to be the mainstream. On the contrary, he deliberately designed a less perfect result, and he doesn't know if it will be liked. If he really encounters a Waterloo, it will be miserable. Of course, he has no regrets. This oriental aesthetic is his view of love. He told the story he liked and filmed it. The rest is up to the market to judge. I'm going to sleep. You wait. Ryan said and left the room. On the other side, in the office of Firefly Pictures, Blake Cole was also waiting anxiously. From time to time, he would glance at the computer interface, hoping that there would be a prompt for a new email. This film is the second independent production of the company, and it is time to stand the test. Although the marketing department has received a lot of good news from the front line, everything is still unknown before the box office data is counted. From filming to production, the company has invested more than $20 million If the market response is not good and the corresponding profit return cannot be returned, this is what many people do not want to see, and it will bring various subsequent troubles. The company has just been acquired, and Blake Cole does not want to face the problem of unemployment again. This kind of thing, once is enough. And what if it succeeds? Although his position has become the deputy director of the marketing department, his immediate boss Ryan is not in charge of the affairs, and the actual right to speak in the department is still in his hands. Although many things need to be notified to Ryan in advance and agreed to sign, and he is not as independent as before, but the salary is still good. When people reach middle age, the most fearful thing is to lose their jobs. It is already very good that they have not been laid off. Blake does not want to ask for too much. He just hopes that Firefly Pictures can continue to maintain stability. Only with stability can he have hope, right? For example, the director of the production department that he has always wanted is not without hope. Anyway, the company is short of people now, and the management is even less. Maybe there will be a chance to touch the threshold. And all these plans and goals are based on the success of the company. The time came to 0.35, and the icon on the computer page that had been silent began to jump. Blake Cole quickly grabbed the mouse and clicked it. In just a moment, he widened his eyes and was surprised. 2562 theaters, 30 to 20 screens, and the box office performance yesterday was $36.42 million US. The single venue performance is close to 15,000. Blake Cole looked at the data in the email stupidly, and his breathing gradually became rapid. Damn, the box office on this day is higher than the previous company's annual revenue. It's a good thing to change the boss. It's right, the future is bright. What about becoming a CEO, marrying a beautiful and rich woman, and reaching the peak of life? It seems that there is a chance. Blake Cole smiled foolishly, and did not forget to send an email to Lyman. After seeing it, Lemon's heart was calm. Finally, I can have a good sleep. In an apartment in Chicago. After returning home from the cinema, Bella began to conceive a film review as usual. The movie is wonderful, but she didn't know how to start. After a long time, she began to write. I have seen many movies, many of which are about love, but macro love gives me a very different feeling. Most love movies are like the moon hanging high in the sky, which is really untouchable, and exists only in fantasy. As for macro love, if I have to comment on it, I would say it is quite lifelike, and the director also uses two stories to explore the respect for love and humanity. After all, in the eyes of most people, love definitely means wanting to be together, get married, have children, and live a happy and complete life. But the director does not like to write about the result. His perspective is on the process of getting to know each other, and falling in love, and gradually developing a good impression of each other. I'm not here to spoil the plot for you. Although the movie is very good, and I sincerely recommend it, what I want to talk about are some things outside of the movie, such as, if you love someone, you can control his life, and change his decisions. I don't really want to comment, I just raise questions. From a certain perspective, macro love is more about the director explaining his point of view through the story. That is, everyone has the right to choose their own life. So, what is love? This is another tricky proposition. In the love of macro love, no one saves anyone, nor does anyone fulfill each other. There is only a palpitation. The director even cruelly explains a truth. Some people, even if they meet and are attracted to each other, cannot go hand in hand. What stands between two people is all reality, their different worldviews, and their completely different value definitions of their lives. It's family, work, life, and all the obstacles in the middle. Only those who cross them are qualified to move on to the next process. The director cruelly deprived everyone of their longing for love, although the latter story was well told and made up for it. In the past, the Prince Charming would always fall in love with Cinderella, or the rich lady would fall in love with the poor boy. They crossed the class and the prejudice, which was very touching. Because it is difficult to appear in reality, they appear in the movie. And if you watch the first half of this movie, your dream will definitely be shattered. The second half is also about the love of ordinary people, although the male protagonist took a brave step in the end. In the vast sea of people, encounters are always rare, let alone fate. Perhaps before watching this movie, you had too many fantasies that falling in love is a natural thing, and if you are attracted to each other, you will be together. But after watching this movie, you may think that love is difficult, and the right person may not stay with you. But I think it is important to keep a normal heart, and let time bear witness to the rest. After all, those who are meant to be together will still be together. Chapter 288 Prelude, Subscription Recommendation. On the second day of the release, the media also began to hype the first day's box office results or audience reputation. They are also very dedicated. Apart from periodicals, magazines or evening papers, major daily newspapers and morning newspapers have already published the grand screening of Macro Love. Paramount has also spent a lot of money this time. No matter what the film critics and reporters do, they will weigh the red envelopes before speaking. As for whether it is flattery or objectivity, it doesn't matter so much. However, the facts have proved that these people have good moral integrity. After watching the movie, most of the film reviews are positive. The New York Times. This French director has always been a pioneer in film and television production. Most of the films he shot have novel perspectives and excellent shots. It is inevitable that many audiences will like him. After watching Macro Love, I have to admit that it is still as unique and outstanding as ever. Variety. Lemon Last's directing skills have always been tested by the market, and this one is no exception. It is cold but warm, and romantic in its plainness. The nearly 2-hour viewing experience from beginning to end will undoubtedly allow people to calm down and appreciate it. The design of the characters and lines is even more unique. Los Angeles Times. Although the film has many wonderful places, the most attractive thing is its narrative process. Especially in the second half, when people are entangled and secretly anxious, they think it is another tragedy. However, director Lemon Last does not play by the rules. A very subtle little reversal makes the deep meaning of the film more intriguing and sublimates the theme. It can be said that, even if it is love themed this time, he has shot his kind of literary style, which is not empty, and makes the audience think after watching it. The Hollywood Reporter. Macro Love may not be the best love movie, nor is it the kind of movie that is so satisfying that there is no flaw, but it is definitely a drama masterpiece worth watching. Premiere. I dare to be sure that this will be a movie that the audience likes. No one can predict how much publicity value the media's comments still have in this era of the gradual rise of the internet. However, some of the viewers who watched Macro Love on the first day also recommended it to other netizens online. The simultaneous efforts of paper media and the internet are still amazing. Around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a theater in Los Angeles. As more and more people get off work, watching a movie to relax is also a very popular way for some people. A middle-aged white man looked at the gradually lively theater and gradually cheered up. His name is Wilk, and he is the ticket seller of this theater. To Macro Love. 2 tickets for Macro Love, thank you. Give me a ticket for 50 First Dates. 3 tickets for The Passion of the Christ. Then the Franklin handed by the customers. Wilk skillfully opened the drawer and gave the change. Like yesterday, the best-selling movie tickets today are still the work of the French director and the religious borderline movie that has been showing for almost 2 weeks and is still strong. Time is spent in busyness. The pointer gradually moved towards 6:30. There were more and more people in the theater, and Wilk was getting busier and busier. 2 tickets for Macro Love. 2 more tickets for Macro Love. I want to watch it again. 5 tickets. Consecutive seats. Wilk didn't notice it at first. However, slowly, as he saw that the tickets for the Macro Love show in Theater 3 from 6:30 to 8:30 were getting fewer and fewer, he realized that the increase in the number of viewers seemed to be a bit too much. It's not that no one watched the previous few shows, but most of them maintained an attendance rate of 60% to 70%, which is not like now. And the most important thing is that today is still a working day, and tomorrow is a common holiday. The main force of the student group has not yet come to participate in the battle. Is it so fierce? What's going on? Will clearly remembers that when the movie started yesterday, some shows were still overshadowed by The Passion of the Christ. And 50 First Dates is not that bad. There are still people watching it. Now it has become powerless after only 1 day. It's too exaggerated. But now, what is clearly happening cannot be denied. In fact, Wilk also knows a little about macro love. The production cost of The Passion of the Christ, a low-cost love movie, is 1.5 times that of The Passion of the Christ. 50 First Dates is not much higher, but it is also more than 5 million more. Logically speaking, even if the entire theater's scheduling is not based on cost, it will not ignore this aspect. In fact, if it were not for the performance of Lyman's previous works, the theater would not have given any good scheduling, but even so, it still cannot be compared with The Passion of the Christ. In one day, Macro Love only had 4 screenings, The Passion of the Christ had 6 screenings, and 50 First Dates had 3 screenings. 2 tickets for We Love. A customer interrupted Wilk's thoughts. Wilk was about to take the money subconsciously, but his eyes were fixed on the monitor. Sorry, the tickets for We Love are sold out. If you want to watch it, you can only wait for the next show. No more. Yes, I suggest you buy tickets for other movies. There are still some left. No, when is the next show? Around 10:30. Why do you schedule the movies like this? The customer grumbled a few words and then said, then give me 2 tickets at 10 o'clock. I want the middle seat. Wilk could only smile bitterly and then handed the tickets to the other party. Scheduling the movies was not his responsibility. Besides, he couldn't show all of them. There were only 3 shows of 50 First Loves in total, and he couldn't erase them. After a while, several more customers wanted to buy tickets for We Love, but they all returned disappointed. Many people suggested that more movies should be scheduled, or another theater should be allocated. While comforting them, Wilk also called the manager of the theater to inform them of their demands. As a senior movie ticket seller, he still had some foresight. Similar situations have happened before. As for how to arrange it after that, it still depends on the people above. Boss, the tickets for Macro Love are selling very well. Many people directly bought tickets for the next show. What about the other movies? How are they? It can't be compared with Macro Love. The attendance rate of some movies is less than 50%. The person on the other end of the phone thought for a while and said, I'll arrange it right away. When someone else buys a ticket later, you can say that there will be tickets for theater 1 in half an hour. Is it profitable? It's not a shame to change the film schedule temporarily. Chapter 289, Operation, Subscription Recommendation. If there is anyone who has the sharpest market vision, after transforming from an actor to a director, it must be Mel Gibson. As a second-tier actor who is just entering Hollywood, it seems that he can touch the threshold of a first-tier movie star if he reaches a little bit. At the age of 34, he is also very suitable, but he chose to retreat behind the scenes and became a director. He also founded Aiken Films with a friend of his. The theme of his debut work was the niche art film The Man Without a Face, which he directed and acted in himself. It did not make much splash. It was mainly used to practice and familiarize himself with the shooting process. The second play Braveheart reflects the court politics of England. It happened to be around 1995, when epic costume themes were popular. The plot arrangement was exciting enough. The heroine Sophie Marceau was amazingly beautiful and attracted a lot of attention. The award chasing was indeed a big hit. With this theme, he received 10 Oscar nominations and won 5 awards including Best Picture and Best Director. It can be said that he made a lot of money. He is really smart. Perhaps because he was an actor, he knows what the audience likes to watch. Many plot developments are unnecessary, but they are added for the sake of viewing. For example, in this The Passion of the Christ, he knows very well that there is no way to know how big the market is for a theme like Jesus. As long as it is filmed, there is no need to worry about no one paying for it. And the reviews will definitely not be too bad. Just like Braveheart, with such a heavy theme, who dares to say that the movie is bad? No awards? Casting, or highlighting the appearance. Mariah was played by Monica Bellucci, and Jesus was played by James Caviezel. It was also specially marked that it clearly restored the story of Jesus' last 12 hours before martyrdom. The press release was all about how real this movie is. Anyway, it was just grabbing the edge of religious beliefs and trying hard to sell the popularity. As expected, with an investment of $25 million and choosing a schedule like mid-February that was not very competitive, the right time, right place, and right people were all in hand. It only took a week to brush more than 100 million box office. Unfortunately, the controversy about the film has never stopped since the day it was released. Why? Simply put, from an artistic perspective, this film is not as good as Pursuing is the Gospel according to Matthew, which is of the same type and theme. The plot is too Hollywood. Although Mel Gibson is still a man of integrity and does not show off commercial element too much, otherwise he would be criticized even more. Not only did he choose those vases for the cast, but the aspect of the suffering of Jesus was completely a cult film supported by the bloodiness. Peggy Scott, a 56-year-old woman from Kansas, who was a devout believer in God and did not watch movies very often, could not bear the scene of Jesus's torture and had a heart attack and died on the spot. You will know how bloody the scene was. Mel Gibson's private goods this time were more mixed than in Brotherhood. The naked scenes reflect how cruel the human nature of those believers who betrayed Jesus is. Unfortunately, he forgot that the subject he filmed was Jesus, who countless believers could empathize with. Relying on blood and gore was already a step behind, and there was nothing to do with this part, but he chose the part of the torture. Still focus on the portrayal. Especially when many people came to watch the film with support, they found that the director indulged in the unrestrained use of brutality and blood to express the holiness and nobility of Jesus, which was extremely vulgar. How would that feel? On the homepage of The Passion of the Christ on Yahoo Community, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes and other movie portals, countless people were cursing, and the score could not even reach 7, and this was still due to the subject matter. American Chinese News also rated it as the 25 most controversial films, ranking first. Even after its release, it sparked a debate between Catholics and Jews. The reason was anti-Semitism. But the more it was cursed and the more it argued, the movie was still making money. Then, Lemon's Macro Love was released. Mel Gibson knew Lemon, but not very familiar with him. He had only heard of him. After all, the box office market was very receptive. He also knew that it might be a threat, but he didn't expect the consequences to be so great. March 20th, the distribution department of 20th Century Fox. At 9 o'clock in the morning, a small internal meeting was held as usual. Angel walked into the meeting room as usual, with a smile on his face. He was in charge of the distribution of The Passion of the Christ. Now the market performance is good, how can he not be happy? Many people have come to the meeting room and are whispering about something. The moment they saw Angel, they stopped talking again. What's up? Is there something wrong? He sat in the first seat and asked with some confusion. Although Angel is a deputy, privately, most of the distribution work is done by him. You don't know yet, boss. What do you know? The weekly box office champion position of the movie The Passion of the Christ we released has been surpassed. What? He really didn't know about this. He went to bed a little early last night. How much was the box office yesterday? Macro Love made $37.56 million US, and ours only made 16.32. Hearing this data, Angel couldn't sit still. Why is it like this? Didn't we have more than 24 million in revenue the day before yesterday? Why did it drop so fast? It is in line with market rules that the box office data of movies gradually decreases as the screening time goes by. It is also normal that the screening performance cannot compete with new films, but this extent is a bit shocking. Also, the people at the theater said that they want to reduce our screening schedule and the number of screens. This news is even worse. Angel thought for a while, and then he felt distressed. Those theater owners are the most real people. If the performance is not really too bad, they will definitely not make such plans. But facts are facts, and we still have to fight for what we should fight for. Contact them immediately, and I will negotiate. Also, reduce the publicity expenses. Well, the distribution company is also realistic. Seeing that things cannot be done, they first think about trying harder, and then find a way out. It's really amazing. And why did the theaters have such a big reaction? In the 2 days of rest, Macro Love directly won $35.52 million and $37.56 million. In 4 days of release, the total box office of Macro Love in North America has accumulated more than 140 million. With such results and such performance, how can you not be tempted? What's more, Paramount's people will not just wait. As soon as the results came out, they directly contacted the theaters to request additional screenings. Although the relationship between Paramount and Lyman has been a little tense recently, Franklin can't be let down. After all, for them, as long as the promotion is proper, it is simply making money without doing anything, and the motivation is full. What I don't know is how much money McCroll can make in the end. Chapter 290. It all depends on the market. Please subscribe and recommend. The next morning, Angel, the head of the distribution department of 20th Century Fox, had just come to work when he came to a reception room. The marketing representatives of the major theater chains, such as Royal Entertainment, AMC chain, and American Artists, who had been notified yesterday and were stationed in Los Angeles, were already sitting inside. "Hello, Doug. Hello, Steve." Angel greeted them one by one, and everyone sat down. "Sorry, Mr. Angel." Steve from the AMC theater chain was the first to say, "What you said has been determined at the company's headquarters. I don't have the power to make changes. Otherwise, you can talk to my boss." He was talking about reducing the screening schedule of The Passion of the Christ. Of course, the above are all excuses. After all, the 6 major companies are the main sources of films for AMC, and he doesn't want to offend them. If you can fool them, just fool them. It's the same with Royal Entertainment. "Sorry, Mr. Angel." Doug and others also said similar things one after another. Angel smiled without showing any dissatisfaction. "You are all cinema market directors in the Los Angeles area, and the Los Angeles area is the largest film market in the United States. It has the most important status and weight in the headquarters. Can't you be in charge of some cinema businesses? My requirements are not high. How about maintaining the number of screens and scheduling of The Passion of the Christ next week?" Seeing that Angel was not buying it, Steve said again, "I really can't make the decision on this matter. The company headquarters has its own plans, and AMC doesn't have any extra cinemas now, so we have to coordinate and transfer them from them. As far as I know, your company plans to transfer 500 cinemas." Angel is well informed. "Then why transfer 200 cinemas from The Passion of the Christ alone? There are several other movies that are being released. Can't they do the job? Even if The Passion of the Christ is excluded, they can fill the gap." Having said that, Steve also understood that for a large cinema chain like AMC, any movement would not be hidden from an old company like 20th Century Fox, so he simply said, "We have our own plan, which is made according to the market potential, and is not targeted at any particular movie." Angel frowned and said, "Plan? Although Love Is Not Blind won the championship in this week's box office list, The Passion of the Christ is not bad either, ranking second. Its current performance is still good. It would be fine if you don't increase the number of theaters, but instead you are reducing the number of theaters showing the film. What kind of plan is this? Also, who are you going to give Love Is Not Blind to among these 500 theaters?" Steve did not deny it and nodded. 300 of them will be given to Love Is Not Blind, and the remaining 200 will include 50 First Dates, Warner's Police and Hutchison Whampoa and a movie Barbershop 2. Angel retorted, "Love Is Not Blind performed well, so there is no problem in expanding its screening, but as far as I know, the cost of films like 50 First Dates is not high, and the cast is not well known. Can it also be expanded?" Steve said tactfully, "They have just been released, and there is still room for improvement." This statement made it very clear. Angel said angrily, "The Passion of the Christ was the box office champion last weekend, and it had the greatest momentum. Why can't it be maintained? But compared with last weekend, the performance of this movie in the second weekend has dropped by 40%. Don't tell me you don't know what such a decline in data means. In addition, this movie has been controversial since its release, while other movies are far from releasing their potential. The single theater box office of McCroll Love is as high as $15,000, and the attendance rate has remained high." Seeing that Angel wanted to say something, Steve stopped him and continued, "Your company should know better than us how to maintain the market. There are only so many theaters, and there are rules for scheduling films. The Passion of the Christ has passed its peak, and there is not much room for exploring the viewing potential. Reducing theaters and scheduling films is inevitable. The cinema chain companies are not charities. Although they are closely connected with the Big Six, they are unlikely to do anything stupid. If the decline of the Passion of the Christ was normal, they would not have withdrawn so much. However, the fact has already happened. Angel said again that the major cinema chains basically maintained a surprising consistency. Seeing that they could not change the results, they could only leave. After Steve returned to his personal office in AMC's Los Angeles office, he picked up the relevant box office statistics and shook his head. To be honest, they really made a mistake when it was first released. Unexpectedly, the movie Macro Love actually relied on the audience's word of mouth and publicity to transform into actual market revenue, and even surpassed The Passion of the Christ in the first weekend. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but sigh. They were still conservative. In terms of theater distribution and scheduling, they were mainly based on the relatively good The Passion of the Christ. They were far less bold than the Royal Entertainment Group, which gave Macro Love a large amount of support in the first week. But who would have thought that The Passion of the Christ would have such a decline? With his many years of experience, this is rare. However, it is a little comforting that they are not completely unprepared. It is not difficult for AMC to expand the screening of Macro Love. Although they missed the first wave of the biggest dividends, it is not too late. For theaters, the market is always their first reference value. After all, there is box office only when there is customer flow. The most important thing is that North American theaters rely heavily on the sales of high-profit products such as cola and popcorn. Unlike the mainland, their theaters do not account for so much of the box office, so they have to make up for it from other places. At the same time, the communication between Paramount and these commercial theater chains was quite smooth. Everyone is for the maximization of profits, and the purpose is the same. Just at the beginning of the new week, Paramount Pictures determined the number of theaters that will screen Macro Love in the next weekend. The number of theaters after the expansion will reach 3,000 and the number of screens will reach 3,882. Shirley Lansing also decided to add another publicity and distribution fee. In addition to printing copies, there will also be secondary resource placement in the media. So far, Paramount Pictures has spent $16 million on the promotion of Macro Love. But it is all worth it. As long as it can make money, it is normal to invest a part of it first to create greater profits. Moreover, in today's market, the topic of Macro Love has been increasing, and it does not require a large amount of publicity expenses. In short, it is moving in a positive direction. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291 Counterattack. Please subscribe and recommend. March 25th. During the day, the commercial street near Santa Monica Square. The street was busy with cars and people, and the first-line brand stores on both sides were dazzling, full of money. As the most prosperous pedestrian street in Los Angeles, this side is full of tall buildings, and is a shopping paradise for women. At this moment, on the third floor of a business building, Mel Gibson stood in front of the French window in his office, with a newspaper spread out on the table, and the headline was particularly eye-catching. Macro Love topped the weekly box office champion, and the new work of director Lyman has a good reputation. It was dazzling to look at. Knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door, and when Mel Gibson turned around, his assistant rushed in breathlessly. Boss, 20th Century Fox just called and said that our movie will reduce the number of theaters and schedules next week. Well, I know. Should we put some pressure on it? The assistant suggested. There are more than a dozen movies scheduled to be released in the United States every month. Are you going to stop others from showing? We have been making money for more than half a month. We should give others a chance. Mel Gibson looked calm, with a faint smile on his face. Remember to notify Fox, and remind them about the publicity expenses. Although he said so, he wanted to drive away other movies in his heart. How can you let others make money? After all these years, he finally released a hit movie. Just when he was thinking of making a fortune, who would have thought that Lemon would make a love-themed movie and ruin most of the market in a blink of an eye? At the end of last year, Saw was released, and the profits were huge. Now it's the off season in March, and suddenly another one popped up. So fast, it's rushing to reincarnate. Mel Gibson was very melancholy and aggrieved. Seeing the good situation, The Passion of the Christ was rushing towards the 200 million box office mark, but it was suddenly ambushed and pulled down halfway, and now it has to reduce the number of theaters. You should know that, although The Passion of the Christ was produced by 20th Century Fox, his Aiken studio also invested a lot of money in it. It can be regarded as another serious collaborative filming. The investment in the whole film is $25 million US. To put it bluntly, when a group of people agreed to shoot such a subject, they were also very nervous and did not dare to make a big move. After all, if the audience did not buy it, they would not lose too much. At least they could maintain their reputation and win awards, just like Braveheart. In short, if the market is not good, awards will make up for it. However, Mel Gibson is a director with vision. Perhaps the release reviews of Braveheart awakened him, and he realized some tricks in filming. So the religious film, that was originally intended to go to the Oscars and explore in depth, turned into a bloody cult film covered with a gimmick. Then, when the movie was released, there were two aspects that he did not expect. First, the audience scolded it very harshly, even if it was a film about Jesus. Second, the more fierce the scolding, the greater the controversy, and the better the performance, which was a blessing in disguise. Moreover, Mel Gibson is not a director who cares too much about these things. He can be scolded, but at least, some people in the industry have a good evaluation of him. Many film critics can brag about it for the sake of money and past dealings, so as not to say that public opinion collapses. Just when he was sitting in the company, watching the data rise, and was full of joy, Love was released. Originally, he had not yet thought that this movie, or did not think that there was any overlap between the love theme and his work. The audience was different, so they could make money separately. Unfortunately, too many viewers were disappointed with this schedule, and reality slapped them in the face quickly. It only took 4 days to directly lock in the weekly box office champion, and it was taken from The Passion of the Christ. Then, I learned that my movie was squeezed directly to only more than 1,600 theaters, and the scheduling volume was less than 20%. This made me even more upset. Without theaters and scheduling volume, where would the market box office come from? Without box office, how can you make money? Moreover, are the audiences all brain dead? The online reviews of Love are surprisingly good. With such a theme and such a movie, how can it have an 8.0 score on IMDb? There are also Rotten Tomatoes and Freshness ratings. How come The Passion of the Christ has become rotten? Mel Gibson began to wonder if Love hired Water Army to brush the score like him, or brush it more than him. What about love? Is a trace of life watching a movie makes people cry, not coquettish and not artificial. There are so many positive reviews of this kind, and you still say it is not brushed? He really thinks so? After all, this is not a secret in the industry. At the beginning, which movie is not brushed a little? Unfortunately, he didn't think about it. Even if it was brushed, why are there still so many people scolding him, and the score has not been high? Mel Gibson has not seen Love, but it doesn't mean he can't have such thoughts. After all, colleagues are enemies. If you don't let me make money, who will give you a good face? Making movies is a gambling business that counts on your fingers to make money. Whoever stands out gets the biggest share. Aren't many ordinary movie fans who don't pay much attention to filming information like this? When they read the newspaper, or go online, and learn that a certain movie is in theaters, and has a high box office, their first reaction is definitely to go and see it. This kind of market blindness is also a direction for theaters to adjust. Mel Gibson gently picked up the newspaper on the table, crumpled it into a ball, and threw it into the trash can. It's blocking people's money. He picked up the phone, and said in a flat voice, "Come to the office." After hanging up the phone, he looked at his assistant again. "Go find a few public relations companies." Popularity? Mel Gibson chuckled. "Won't it come out if we hype it up a little?" When Braveheart was released, the box office was not good enough, but it was also created with Sophie Marceau. Although the investment of more than $70 million, the North American box office was only $130 million, and the global cumulative total was $210 million US. The loss was not small, but the subsequent rush for awards also made up for some. What he wants to do now is to repeat the previous operation. After all, Monica Bellucci has a great influence with Beautiful Legend of Sicily. A little digging will reveal a lot. As for being rejected, it is impossible. It is just a gossip. The audience is happy to eat the melon, and the parties involved have no loss. At most, they can find a special newspaper to make a serious explanation. Such memes are almost worn out by Hollywood, but they still work. Yes, they work in the entertainment industry all over the world. As expected, Monica Bellucci didn't say anything and agreed directly. After all, hype will also be related to the popularity of female stars, and it doesn't cost money, so why not? Chapter 292 Yahoo! Subscription Recommendation. 1994, Jerry Yang and David Fellow founded Yahoo! It took only 2 years for it to be officially listed on Wall Street. At that time, the annual turnover was only $1.3 million US, and the actual loss was $630,000 US, but the total stock price on the first day of listing was as high as $500 million US. Now, its development potential is indeed worthy of its valuation. The website traffic of its news push portal pages such as USA Today ranks first. Andrew Clinton, one of the executives of the entertainment section of the USA Today column. He was the first person contacted by Mel Gibson's public relations company, a cafe near Griffith Park in Los Angeles. A middle-aged white man with a briefcase walked into the cafe. As soon as he came in, he looked around. After seeing someone sitting by the window, he walked over quickly. "What do you want to talk to me about? Please take a seat." The man stood up and pointed to the seat opposite him politely, smiling. "Mr. Andrew?" "Yes, I am. What do you want to ask me out for?" Andrew Clinton sat opposite the man, curious. "Tell me, why did you ask me out?" "Coffee?" the man asked. "No need, I have something else to do later." The man smiled and then said, "I have a few photos here, and I hope you can push them. It would be better if there are articles with good content. How about it?" Andrew Clinton was in charge of this area. Hearing this, he said, "What photos? Can I take a look first?" The man picked up his briefcase and took out a paper bag from it and handed it to Andrew. "These are private photos of director Mel Gibson and actress Monica Bellucci. You say the movie they collaborated on is being released. What would it be like for an actress to run to a director's house?" There was no intimate behavior in the photos, but this situation could not help but make people think too much. Andrew Clinton has seen a lot of this kind of thing. He was one of the editors-in-chief of the Los Angeles Times, and was later poached by Yahoo! For this kind of thing, it depends on how the news is reported, whether it is suggestive or ignored. There are too many ways. "What do you mean?" he asked deliberately. "I want it to be a hot topic." The man did not shy away from it. People in their line of work have long forgotten the fairness of news, and instead turned it into a means that can be used. "We will cooperate. But tomorrow's news has been confirmed. This is not easy to do." Andrew Clinton hesitated. The man also knew the rules and took out a brown paper bag from his briefcase. "If the effect is good, there will be another part." After saying that, he pushed it to the other side. Andrew Clinton weighed it for a while, without any embarrassment. He opened it and took a look. Then he sealed it again, with a satisfied smile on his face. Okay, if nothing unexpected happens, it will be the headline of tomorrow's entertainment section." "Well, then I won't disturb your work. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first." After saying that, he got up and left on his own. Only Andrew Clinton was left there happy. Of course, he had done this kind of thing too much, but no matter what, it was good to make some extra money. As for the news value and materials, the other party had already given them, right? After the man left, he got into the Cadillac parked on the street, took out his mobile phone, and dialed a number. He agreed. "Boss, what about the rest?" "It's also been arranged." Mel Gibson hung up the phone, sat on the office chair, closed his eyes and rested, his fingers tapping the table subconsciously. If the release was not smooth, he would not have done this. Sometimes, excessive hype is not good for the future. but who made Macrolove a big success. It collected another $36.23 million on the first day of the next week. Compared with the $11.64 million of The Passion of the Christ, it can be said to be a crushing defeat. If you don't struggle, you will really have nothing to gain. Firefly Pictures, in the president's office. Lemon had just sat down when Blake Cole brought a document. It talked about the data of the audience survey. About 85% or more of them were rated A+, and more than half of the rest were rated A, with only a small portion rated C. The reputation is still as strong as ever. Then, Blake Cole said, Paramount's publicity is still going on. Several newspapers want to interview our crew, and as for the roadshow, theaters in the eastern region also hope to make a trip. Lemon sighed. He had just finished visiting several large regional ticket warehouses around Los Angeles yesterday, and before he had time to spare, there was a lot of work to do. But there was no way. Facts have proved that no matter how good the quality of movie is, it will not make a big splash without publicity. These are all things that must be done. If you want to make money, you can't be afraid of trouble. Not long after, Ryan and Johnson also came to the company. Firefly Pictures does not have a formal publicity and distribution department yet. Ryan basically watches Paramount busy with publicity and distribution matters, and occasionally checks the accounts. As soon as Ryan arrived, he complained, "There are too few people in the company and too many things to do. The marketing department needs to recruit more employees, otherwise it will be too busy." Lemon smiled and said, "The recruitment advertisement is still there. You can write one yourself with the specific needs." Johnson on the side also said, "Lemon, what are your plans for the future of the company?" Lemon spread his hands and said, "What plans can I have? I will make the company bigger and stronger. Let's do it step by step. I think we may have to establish a North American distribution channel first." "What? Do you have any suggestions?" Johnson nodded. The company is now very optimistic in terms of profitability and film project development. However, the personnel and systems of many departments are not sound, and the responsibilities of employees are confusing. This is extremely irregular and must be dealt with. I know this too, but the problem is that we can't recruit anyone. The human resources department is still vacant. Job changes are all controlled by a few of us. There is no detailed charter for work incentives and promotion paths. What can I do? Otherwise, you can think of a way to get in touch with those peers and poach some talents from them." Johnson said helplessly, "It's not like I haven't thought about it, but the benefits of the big six in Hollywood are no worse than ours, and the prospects for development are even broader. It's hard to poach department executives unless you pay them a higher salary than the industry level. But if the financial expenditure in this area is too tilted, it will definitely be a hidden danger to the future. What do you think?" "Forget it. Let's talk about it later. The company is definitely operating normally at the moment. Those who are capable should work harder, get more bonuses and benefits, and let's get through this period first." Chapter 293, A Person of Great Attention. Please subscribe and recommend. Andrew Clinton is a very trustworthy person. After all, he is in the news industry. If you don't keep your word, it will be difficult to get by. What's more, he took the money. What if he didn't do anything after taking the money? Will someone continue to give him money? In this circle, there are all kinds of private transactions. Gossip, hype and heat are just the most basic operations. So, he took the money with a clear conscience. He can also guess who is looking for him. He is also preparing to do so, and even plans to do it himself when he is happy. Back then, even the editor-in-chief of the Los Angeles Times said that his copywriting was good. So, an article titled "Shock. Another Hidden Rule: Why Do Actresses Meet Directors in Private?" The story behind the glamour of Hollywood was freshly released. It was even posted on the main page of the entertainment section of Yahoo's USA Today, showing that he is important and feels at ease taking the money. One better thing about the internet than print media is that the photos are clearer. On the afternoon of March 26th, someone saw Monica Bellucci, the heroine of the now popular The Passion of the Christ, meeting privately with the film's director Mel Gibson. Not only did they share a dinner together, they behaved intimately during the dinner, and later took the same car back to Mel Gibson's mansion in Beverly Hills. It is said that a crew member of the filming revealed that as early as during the filming, the two of them talked and laughed without caring about others. As early as in Marilyn Monroe's autobiography, she talked about the helplessness under this rule. Did Monica Bellucci also promise something to get the role? Under the glamour of Hollywood, how can actresses earn their rights? Quoting ancient illusions, citing a lot of nonsense, the meaning is almost a stone hammer. The relationship between the two is improper. Even the rising feminist thought was introduced, which can be said to be careless. With the gradual development of the internet, the daily traffic of Yahoo website is not small, and the news push is also powerful. At this moment, the article has just been published, and a lot of clicks immediately appeared. Peers, including some print media, have also reprinted or released more explosive news. For a while, it was quite impressive. It is really too much to expect unscrupulous media to point out something. Some people are also happy to eat melons. Why not do something that you and I are willing to do? Early in the morning, many people who like to subscribe to newspapers, if they are willing to read the entertainment section, can basically see reports about Mel Gibson and Monica Bellucci, and even news about the husband of the person involved, Vincent Cassel. Well, if he is not a married woman, maybe there will not be so much eye-catching. People all like to see jokes, just for fun, and even to satisfy some desires, to peek into the private lives of celebrities. This is why gossip always occupies the heat. At first, Vincent Cassel and Monica Bellucci met on the set of The Apartment. Later, they worked together on several works and finally entered the palace of marriage. But now, after this incident, it is hard to doubt whether the two can continue to go on. New York Daily. This veiled speech really hurt someone's heart. Although Vincent Cassel knows the bad things in the entertainment industry and can understand his wife's cooperation, he is still a little unhappy. Of course, let's not talk about it here. The audience is eating melons freely in their spare time. This news topic is also a good material for gossip. What is being cheated? Green grass land? What actress? What unspoken rules? In short, all the melons eaten in the past can be brought out and talked about together. Moreover, the legend of Sicily is extremely popular in the video market. Many people know Monica Bellucci, and they have even watched that beautiful scene repeatedly. Some of her privacy will undoubtedly make people very curious and curious. Or is it that the value of gossip is that the audience loves to watch it, and it is a kind of culture besides entertainment and star chasing? Is it her? Filming another movie? I have to go see it. Many viewers who have seen the work, but don't know the star well even became interested in the Passion of the Christ, which is currently being screened. After knowing the news, this is the positive effect brought by publicity. A wave of offensives has made the box office of the Passion of the Christ steadily rise. Of course, after watching it, people will still criticize it. The excessive show of blood is really the biggest failure of this movie. Is Vincent Cassel the only victim of the whole incident? Yes and no. When the news was flying all over the sky, reporters would definitely not let go of such a valuable interviewee. For a while, they surrounded him like sharks smelling blood. Basically, they were all exclusive interviews. Maybe everyone wants to ask what kind of sad psychological process this person who is probably cheated on has. For men, this must be a great insult, since he was able to accept the interview. In addition to the fact that 20th Century Fox, his wife and Mel Gibson had informed him in advance, he could also get a little publicity and a lot of benefits by doing so. Anyway, he couldn't refuse such a planned hype, so why not cooperate well? Moreover, after a while, they also promised to clarify the facts. By then, those bad impressions will disappear, and there will be no burden. Well, the above is all nonsense. Since Vincent Cassel married Monica Bellucci, he basically did not interfere with Monica's private life. You should know that when filming Irreversible, this guy was still the producer of that movie. The large-scale shots in it were more intense than The Legend of Sicily, and he also participated in it. Or, foreigners don't care much about this aspect. As long as the feeling between each other is right, scandals don't matter, and the same goes for nudity. Freedom and space are what foreigners care about most. The two basically live their own lives. Apart from living together, there seems to be nothing good to say. Even because Monica Bellucci often goes to Hollywood, they don't have much time to spend together. Vincent Cassel is also very open-minded. Even when he learned the news, he believed his wife and was not suspicious. Well, even if it is true, he can probably accept it. The so-called open relationship is a testament to the feelings between the two of them. In other words, I allow you to have a bed partner or lover, but we can still live our lives together. We don't bother each other, and the feelings are still sincere. In this case, he didn't come out to accept interviews. First, it's not suitable for him to come forward. There is no need. Second, it's more imaginative and topical, isn't it? Chapter 294, Little Tricks, Subscription Recommendation. Mr. Gibson, many people are questioning your excessive depiction of the torture scene. What do you think about it? In an interview with a TV station under 20th Century Fox, Mel Gibson said in a cooperative manner, Hollywood has always been unfriendly to religious themes, but I'm a Catholic. For such a movie, I'm completely loyal to the actual shooting. I have devoted all my sincerity. This is also the spirit that I have always believed in, and forced me to complete it. From preparation to shooting, to striving for distribution, this is a decade of hard work for me. You can deny it, but you can't question my faith. So you don't think there is anything wrong with those bloody scenes? The host asked again. You can't say that. These are things that those people have experienced personally. I just faithfully restored them. In Mel Gibson's words, he flaunted his firm belief everywhere, and also hinted that what he shot was real, not mixed with personal goods for the box office. The hype about the scandal some time ago was already hot enough, and what he needs to do now is to whitewash the shooting concept to the audience. Next, he cited several examples of the descriptions of scenes in the New Testament, to compare with his own movie scenes and to highlight the reliability of his words. It seemed that everything he did should not be subject to those groundless controversies. Haha. A devout Catholic filmed a work about his religious beliefs, but it turned out to be a bloody cult R-rated film. I don't know if it's a joke, but it doesn't matter. It can fool the audience and gain sympathy. Besides, Fox TV is our own people. Well, then the picture turned from the interview site to the studio, and the TV host of the program also made a timely comment. Although the film has been questioned, it is indeed profound and exquisite. Perhaps, director Mel Gibson filmed a portrayal of his heart, a work about the Bible. It is not intended to promote anti-Semitism. Hollywood, Paramount Pictures headquarters. In the office, Shirley Lansing watched this interview. This was a recording broadcast by Fox TV for the American audience this morning. Opposite her, Andrew David also expressed his views at the right time. This is a smart move on their part. We've thought of it a long time ago, haven't we? Shirley Lansing seemed very relaxed. The sudden scandal offensive had already exposed their intentions. How has the box office of The Passion of the Christ been these days? It was still declining before, but now it's stable and even has an upward trend. Shirley Lansing smiled and glanced at Andrew David. Since they like the excitement so much, then we can do it too. Inform the marketing department to increase the publicity. Just say that Macro Love has achieved gratifying results and has a great reputation and is most suitable for couples to watch. Don't you like hype? I want this momentum to become the east wind for Macro Love, and it will soar straight up. With the trump card in hand, why not dare to fight? Shirley Lansing was not afraid of Fox's tricks at all. Such tricks were still inferior to the absolute strength and quality of the film. There was confidence and domineering in her words. As for the theater chain, I will personally discuss the scheduling with them again. After saying that, she waved her hand, and Andrew David stopped disturbing her work and slowly retreated. In an office of Firefly Pictures, Blake Cole was also very surprised about what happened during this period. He originally thought that the release of the film in March should compete with the similar film 50 First Dates, but he did not expect that The Passion of the Christ would be so strong and popular, and it could divert some of the box office of Little Love. Then, Paramount called again and wanted to increase the publicity of the film, which was clearly not going to make the opponent feel good. This time, the two companies seemed to have discussed it beforehand, as if they were clearing the field. Perhaps this is the tacit understanding between the six majors. After all, in addition to the profit of The Passion of the Christ, Little Love is not bad either, but the several low-cost productions that originally had some hope of competition have all lost their voices. It is not just a coincidence or a necessity. However, the only thing we know is that no matter what, the whole storm will not do any harm to little love. How is it? What do you mean? Lemon and Johnson were sitting in the car. They were still promoting the film. Isn't Paramount's method very clever? Who can become one of the big six without some method? Johnson nodded, agreeing with Lemon's statement. However, he still said tactfully, we need to cooperate with Warner, but we can't completely cut off the relationship with Paramount. Shirley Lansing is still powerful and is not bad to us. He looked at Lemon. Although Warner is very strong, there are many internal disturbances. Don't lean towards any side. Although everyone is trying to win over now, they will not be cautious. Do you think Warner will treat you like one of their own if there is a conflict? He didn't finish his words, but Lemon understood what Johnson meant. Just like Universal could show goodwill and smear without hesitation, for the big six, nothing can compare to their own interests. He is now on guard against Paramount, but he doesn't necessarily have to trust Warner. In a word, you need to seek shelter when you are still young. But you can't be careless about how to grasp it. The car is still moving forward. After a few minutes, Lemon asked again, during this period, you can help me collect companies with North American distribution channels, and the focus is to investigate the internal financial and equity relations. Why? Want to establish your own distribution channel? Johnson asked excitedly. I have this plan. It is not a solution to always rely on others. Paramount knows that it wants to acquire DreamWorks to make up for the company's production capacity. Lemon has also thought about having his own distribution channel. What is your goal? There must be perfect personnel and channels in North America's offline and theaters, clear finances, and it is not important whether there is debt or not. The equity is simple. It is best to acquire wholly owned. If not, you must also hold a controlling stake. The words are very clear, and Johnson also understands them very well. I know. I will inquire more about this aspect and help you keep an eye on the right company. Even if you can't do Lionsgate, it's good to follow the template of DreamWorks. Anyway, no matter what, Lemon is determined to first improve the production and distribution of integrated film companies. In this way, it can be regarded as a preliminary gate on this river. Chapter 295. You come and I go. Please subscribe and recommend. With the expectation of those who care about it, the entertainment sector in the United States began to secretly encourage it. On the second day, there was an overwhelming bombardment. Surprise. Monica Biloxi came out and said that she has a good impression of Mel Gibson. Is the relationship suspected to be completely public? Chicago Review. McCrolove has received another $28.83 million with a cumulative total of $166.52 million, and the North American market is about to break $200 million. Los Angeles Times. The Passion of the Christ is vulgar and bloody, and should be resolutely boycotted. New York Daily News. Freedom of belief or distortion and disintegration? What does the Passion of the Christ mean? San Francisco Daily News. As soon as the holiday came, Paramount and 20th Century Fox took advantage of the students' holiday and the expansion of the market to launch this propaganda war in a timely manner. Both parties used all possible means. One side focused on scandals and freedom of belief, and Mel Gibson frequently took Monica Biloxi to meet in public. The other side focused on the film's box office performance and audience reputation, supplemented by on-site research and interviews with fans. There were too many smear campaigns in the middle, and you exposed my secrets and I pulled your underwear. Who can tell the difference between true and false, false and true? Not to mention that the film critics are a two-sided camp, praising today and criticizing tomorrow. As long as there is enough money, any posture is acceptable, from film structure to shooting techniques, from character analysis to shooting concepts. In short, there is no film that cannot be criticized. The momentum of both sides is loud. 20th Century Fox closed at $13 million, ranking second in the weekly box office list, and McCrolove on the other side received $25.32 million, firmly defending its championship throne. Sony Columbia Pictures, Distribution Department Director's Office. What are they doing? A middle-aged white man with a slightly bald head complained with dissatisfaction. They spent so much on publicity, aren't they afraid of not getting their money back? Afraid? Why should I be afraid? This is really a good plan. Another middle-aged man sat in an office chair, looking helpless. Fox took the initiative to build momentum so that it can sell overseas box office. The domestic market is almost silent, and if they don't fight, are they really going to give up the market? As for Paramount, they are just going with the flow and deliberately cooperating with Fox to build momentum, which is both to attract attention and to expand the audience. Moreover, the films of both companies are easy to make profits, so they have a way out. On the desk, a list of box office data for North America in the past 2 days is clearly visible. Such large-scale publicity and mutual competitors that are popular with the public naturally drive the audience's choice. The back and forth is so lively that the originally sluggish film market has suddenly become hot again. Even some small film companies are afraid of being squeezed and take the initiative to adjust the schedule, which is in line with the wishes of the two companies. Paramount seemed to be trying to stop Fox's move. The competition was so fierce, but it kept clearing people out. It really used resources reasonably. What should we do? Asked the middle-aged white man who complained earlier. Do we still have the capital to compete? Why is it helpless? It's because even if they know, they can't break the situation. 50 First Dates was not at the same level as its competitors. No matter how much the Passion of the Christ was questioned, it still had an audience, and even controversy can sometimes be converted into box office. And what do they have? The market performance is not outstanding, and the audience's reputation is not good. The most feared thing is that there is no controversial point. What can they use to promote? What can they use to hype? With the loss outweighing the gain, can they still waste money? In the hot publicity during this period, coupled with the fans of various works that Lemon had accumulated before, McCrow finally broke the 200 million mark in the second week of its screening, and the total North American box office accumulated $213.2 million. Such a result shocked many people in the industry. Although as early as the beginning of the release, many people could expect this new movie to be good. But who would have thought that McCrow could be so successful? Can it be the same to break 200 million in 2 weeks and break 200 million in 3 weeks? Moreover, March is still a low season, not the summer vacation or Christmas season, so it is really surprising that it can have such an outstanding performance. But then again, the reason why McCrow can cause a movie watching craze is also very simple to analyze in detail. First, it must be properly promoted. Paramount's strong support and the tilt of resources behind it are unquestionable. A good movie may not be popular without a good channel. Second, Lemon himself has a good reputation and movie fans are willing to support it. This is the advantage of the director or the main creator himself, just like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, who is willing to contribute a movie ticket when he sees the name. Third, the schedule is well chosen. There are no noteworthy movies in the whole month of March. Warner, Universal, MGM and other companies are not willing to work hard to promote the release of works. There are not many people competing, and the audience naturally has few choices. Fourth, that is the quality of McCrow itself. Whether it is a lens, the story, the characters, or the overall rhythm control, it is one of the better films in the love genre. The film is excellent, and has a good reputation. In the subsequent screenings, the advantages will be more prominent. After getting the specific results, in addition to Paramount secretly rejoicing, other film companies have their own gains and losses, and Barry Mayer is also in a good mood. Although the chaos of Little Love and the Passion of the Christ directly pulled away the audience, and the Police and Hutch release by Warner did not make any splashes, he was not angry at all. Warner releases dozens of movies every year, and not all of them are produced by themselves. It just so happens that they are only the distributor of Police and Hutch. No matter what the final profit is, there will definitely be a share for Warner, and it will definitely not lose money. Moreover, Lemon has cooperated with Warner on a movie. The more popular he is now, isn't it also good news? Moreover, he has more ideas. He knows that there is a gap between Paramount and Lemon. He also knew Shirley Lansing very well. She would definitely not want Lemon's Firefly Pictures to be independent without her control. Recently, it was no secret that DreamWorks and Paramount had frequent contacts. At that time, even if Lemon was unwilling, he would definitely not get too close to Paramount. In this way, Warner would have a chance. Not to mention controlling or acquiring, at least there would be closer contacts, which would be very helpful to his plan. Berryman thought to himself. However, he could only wait for now. Wait until the film they collaborated on is released to thoroughly prove Lyman's value to the board of directors, and then use subsequent film projects to strive for everything that is beneficial to him. Warner is not an iron bucket. The company is big, and it is not easy to lead the team, right? Chapter 296 Market Subscription Recommendation. Jack, have you done enough publicity? Oh, really? I'll be fine if you can come back next week. No. Okay, that's it. We'll talk about it when you come back. Jake Gyllenhaal hung up the phone and rubbed his cheeks, trying to make himself more sober. Half a month ago, director Roland Emmerich was mostly polite to him. He was able to star in The Day After Tomorrow, not only because of the help of his agent and his own conditions, but also because of his parents' connections and favors. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. His father is also a director and knows Emmerich. Although the relationship is not close, it is always a plus. When it comes to filming, he actually doesn't pay much attention to him. However, with the popularity of Love as one of the male protagonists, he has been affected a lot. Even the top executives of the agency called to discuss his future schedule and endorsements. Yes, there are many brands that want him to endorse cars, new spring models of clothes and even household items. He suddenly became popular and became another darling of Hollywood. In just a few days, he received many invitations to various movies, and most of them were the main characters or important male supporting roles. This was hard for him to imagine before. Director Roland Emmerich even granted him a few more days off to participate in the Roadshow promotion, and his attitude was much better. These were all things that suddenly changed in the past few weeks, making him feel unreal. He even felt a little unsteady when walking. In contrast, others seemed a little calm. Today we are going to Miami, Florida, and then St. Petersburg. The schedule is a bit tight. How about it, everyone? Did you rest well last night? In the business car, Lyman talked about the Roadshow location they were going to. Not bad. This is Heath Ledger. A little sleepy. I need to rest in the car for a while. This is Eva Green. I'm fine. Jake Gyllenhaal was a little reserved. Sophie Marceau didn't come because it was inconvenient for her, and Europa Films also needed her to cooperate with the promotion in France. The driver drove the car, and Johnson habitually reported his work. The schedule for this week has been finalized. 2,900 theaters. Is it starting to decrease? Yes. This number was not unexpected by Lyman. For most movies, the first half of the month is the most important, and it can basically determine the final box office results. Now the daily box office performance of Love has also begun to decline, and the April schedule is coming soon, and there are many new movies scheduled for release, so they have to make room. This is also the final sprint stage. The number of theaters will only decrease faster in the future, and the prospects for how much they can get in the end are actually somewhat clear. According to yesterday's market data analysis, Love got 18.65 million box office, and the attendance rate has dropped more and more obviously. It is not just Lyman's movie, but several other movies in the same period have inevitably encountered the same problem. The market is not enough, and the schedule is definitely declining. Even some movies with poor performance have been removed from the screen. North America should be able to get 300 million. The limit. Johnson thought for a while and said. Lyman nodded, which was similar to his guess. In the car, other people were indifferent to the number. On the contrary, Jake Gyllenhaal in the backseat looked at the others and felt a little emotional. Invested 15 million, the box office is 300 million. A big profit, isn't it? Thinking back to the time when he took on this movie, it was mainly because of his agent's persuasion. Of course, the good script and role were also touching points. So, he played in Brokeback Mountain, and worked with Heath Ledger once, and then worked with him again in Little Love. Now thinking back, he has forgotten how Lyman fell in love with him, and why he chose him. What did we say when we first met? More importantly, as a second generation in the circle, he has been in the industry for so many years, and it's not that he hasn't had a big hit movie. But the problem is that no movie has a total box office of 300 million in North America. In other words, there are not many Hollywood movies that can break the local box office of 200 million US dollars a year, and they are all series movies, or they have a large investment. This is the first time for him to have such a return on investment as Little Love. What about overseas? Lemon asked. Not very optimistic. After all, it's the off season. It would be good to have 200 million. Johnson replied. Yes, overseas regions are not local after all, so many promotional methods cannot be used, not to mention that other regions will also produce good movies, and we have to consider the share of screenings, so the upper limit is naturally lowered. Moreover, love-themed movies are not well accepted in non-English cultural circles. Otherwise, Lemon was a little regretful. He was telling the truth. The popular movies overseas are generally special effects blockbusters, which is based on the market. For movies with themes such as comedy and love, there are few overseas markets that are more popular than the local market, while for themes such as action, thriller, and suspense, there are few such concerns, which is also related to some cultural factors. After arriving in Miami, the group participated in several activities, and then went to St. Petersburg without stopping. Just as they were about to end the roadshow, although the box office of the movie Love had been falling, the total cumulative box office was still heading towards the 300 million mark. Monday, April 7th, 10.21 million. On Tuesday, the traditional discount day, the box office was 11.42 million. On Wednesday, the box office was 9.64 million, falling below 10 million for the first time. The cinema chain further shrank to only 1,646. On Thursday, the box office was 8.82 million. On Sunday, the box office closed at 7.2 million. The total accumulated amount of Little Love in the week was 57.65 million US dollars, ranking third in the weekly box office list, April 7th to 13. The championship throne was taken over by Bad Girls, released by Paramount, with a box office of 86.52 million US dollars. The second place was Rescue Me, released by 20th Century Fox, with a box office of 75.64 million US dollars. So far, the total box office of Little Love in North America has accumulated 288.62 million US dollars. As expected, the arrival of competitors will inevitably squeeze the market of Little Love. Several newly released movies have also become their world. In addition, Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ was also greatly affected. Because it was screened for a longer time, it continued to fall and was completely withdrawn from the North American market this week. The total box office in the United States was 308.82 million. It was considered to have achieved the plan of the investors behind it, but it was also inevitable that they invested in publicity. It is strange that it made money while moving forward in controversy. But this is the film industry. Everything is possible, isn't it? After earning so much box office, Love has basically come to an end, and it is estimated that breaking 300 million is a limit. However, it is already a great harvest. Chapter 297, Gathering People's Hearts. Please subscribe and recommend. Firefly Pictures headquarters, in Blake Cole's office. His trusted subordinate Evan Braden looked at the clock on the wall and smiled. Boss, they should be back, right? Yeah, soon. Blake Cole sat at ease, with his legs crossed, reading newspapers and documents from the marketing department. He is now very glad to stay in the company, otherwise how could he have such a comfortable life? The film projects he developed have good results, and the company's affairs are not much, and now he has developed the habit of flipping through various newspapers. It's nothing, since the release of Love, seeing those reports that say good things, praise the movie, or are related to Firefly Pictures, it's comfortable to read. Okay. In the company, although his position is not one of the top few, he still has a say. There are also many people who hope to join Firefly Pictures through him. The feeling of being asked by others is simply too wonderful. Although he can't make any guarantees at all, it doesn't hinder his good mood. Moreover, the company has a good prospect, and his status in the industry is also rising. The boss said that he would use 5% of the movie's box office revenue to give out bonuses. Is that true? Evan Braden asked happily. Where did you hear that? Blake Cole glanced at him. This guy came here for this. No wonder he was in the office early in the morning when he had nothing to do. Haha, it's all over the company. Yes, it's true. Blake Cole didn't doubt it. There were indeed quite a lot of people who knew about it. After confirming it, Evan Bratton asked again, then, how is the standard for bonuses calculated? Based on the current box office of nearly 300 million, excluding the theaters and Paramount, our company can get about 80 million. After deducting part of the distribution funds, there will be a little more than 70 million left. 5% of 70 million is 3.5 million. In addition, this money will also be deducted from the bonus of the production team. Well, as the distributor, Paramount bears the smallest production risk, but relies on investment shares and distribution terms to share more than 70 million box office revenue. Even if the publicity and distribution costs and tax payments are deducted, it can still earn more than 50 million. It is really a sure win deal, but this is the distributor. This is business. The premise of their hard work in publicity and promotion is based on the promising market prospects of the film itself. Otherwise, if there is no profit, I believe Paramount will be the first to give up. Who will work hard to promote it if they can't make money? This does not include the revenue from the offline market and overseas box office. After all, these cannot be divided for a while. With Europa's happiness and good relationship, the overseas market must wait until all the movies are off the screen and then deliver them to the theaters in various places one by one before calculating the subsequent profit sharing. At least 1 or 2 months will be enough. Evan Bratton was a little confused. Then how much can I get? You? As the deputy director of the marketing department, I should have about 80,000. You are an employee of the marketing department, responsible for research, so you must not have much, so you should be able to get about 20,000. So much. Evan Bratton said happily. His usual salary is only $5,000 and 20,000 is 4 months' salary. How can he not be happy? Moreover, if this is the case, every time a movie is made, if there is money, there will be a bonus. In 2 years, he can directly buy a community property and pay off his car loan. Yeah, the future is bright. Blake Cole seemed to see through his mind and said speechlessly, why think so much? This is just a reward, or is it a big hit that will distribute dividends like this? Will it be distributed like this in normal times? This is a company, not a charity. Don't get kicked out when the time comes. Layoffs are not the end of the matter. The two were about to chat for a few more words, but the office floor outside became lively. Boss, president, all the employees greeted them enthusiastically. Thank you for your hard work. Tonight, the company will hold a celebration banquet at the Hilton Hotel. Everyone will go. Another good news was announced in public. Amid the cheers of the crowd, Lyman went to the office. Seeing this, Evan Bratton hurried back to his work, while Blake Cole sorted out the information and went to report on the company's situation. In the president's office, besides Lyman, there was also Eva Green. Speaking of which, she has been doing very well recently. The girl has also experienced the feeling of being famous. In terms of fame, she is certainly not as well known as Sophie Marceau, but the release of Macrolove is hot, so she can always retain some audience favor. Especially the role she plays is a strong girl with a bit of optimism, which is a lot of plus points. Nowadays, her salary has also risen to $2 million, which has increased several times. This is a rise in the value of the heroine in a hot-selling movie. For example, Anne Hathaway, before she starred in The Princess Diaries, her salary was only tens of thousands. After The Princess Diaries, it directly increased to $3 million. The salary for the sequel of The Princess Diaries was $5 million. Among the many female stars, she is another rising star in the industry. Blake Cole knew the relationship between the two and did not avoid suspicion. He directly reported the company's operations in the past few days. After listening to him, Lyman ordered the company should continue to recruit people. Also, contact some headhunting companies in the industry and ask them to help recruit people, especially those with rich work experience, who are the main targets. I know. Not long after Blake Cole left, Johnson also came to the company. He is now also Eva Green's agent. The reason why she has not returned to the crew of The Day After Tomorrow is not only because of the face given by director Roland Emmerich, but also because of some trivial matters that need to be dealt with. This guy now looks very motivated. He runs around all day and doesn't seem tired. As soon as he entered the door, he said, "I have contacted Dyer. They want Eva to endorse their latest women's perfume and want you to shoot this promotional advertisement." Me. Lemon was surprised. Well, they are very sincere. How about it, do you agree? Dyer also investigated Eva before thinking about the Spokesperson. Naturally, he knew the relationship between Lemon and her, so he wanted to ask the two to work together. It was a good plan. Lemon has such a good reputation in the industry now, inviting him to shoot is also a good material for publicity. As for Eva, it is completely because of the performance of Love that Dyer wants to take advantage of the popularity. After all, she is not the general spokesperson. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298 Chapter 302 Advertisement, Subscription Recommendation. Hilton Hotel, Back Garden Banquet Hall. This was the first internal celebration banquet held by Firefly Pictures. Lemon certainly wasn't stingy. In addition to setting up a big banquet to reward everyone, he also distributed bonuses in advance in the afternoon. The gesture of gathering people's hearts was very strong. Which employee wouldn't want to follow a company with a promising future and generous leadership? Moreover, to be honest, compared with the value created by the company, 2 or 3 million is really nothing. In terms of tax avoidance alone, the company's benefits are very large. The atmosphere was just right. The excitement brought by the pure box office revenue of tens of millions of dollars in North American box office revenue will never fade away in a short time. Even though they had enjoyed it once during Saw, many people still felt a little unreal. Evan Bratton drunkenly smiled and raised his glass again, and Blake Cole and other former Rodriguez Pictures managers were also excited. Especially the tens of thousands of bonuses that had already entered their pockets made them feel even more comfortable. Before the summer and Christmas seasons, this movie has already topped the 2004 annual box office chart. As of today, Love in the Dark has already beaten its competitor The Passion of the Christ with a North American box office of $311.42 million. However, this title seems to be bluffing, but it seems to be useless. After all, with the North American market still growing, a score of 300 million is far from stable. It is just a temporary top spot. Dyer's new perfume products this year are very big, and they have been warming up for a long time before. The publicity department saw the opportunity and wanted to invite Eva Green to shoot this promotional advertisement, and they were very willing to let Lemon direct it. You know, as a movie director, Lemon's value must be higher than that of an advertising director. This is a very undoubted thing. After the few people contacted each other, Lemon also made an appointment to meet at Dyer's branch in Los Angeles the day after the celebration banquet. The department contact was wearing a black suit and didn't look very old. After asking his assistant to make coffee, he said directly, "Mr. Lemon's several works are very good, especially Love, which is very touching. So this time we also want to ask Mr. Lemon to direct and Ms. Eva to star in it, to shoot the kind of leisurely, elegant, and spring-like taste." Well, the theme of Dyer's perfume is What Would You Do for Love? It is a publicity plan that is very suspected of riding on the popularity. Lemon looked at Johnson. Johnson also said at the right time, "Your company wants to shoot a 4.5-minute TV short film and a set of graphic ads, right?" "Yes." "Well, then let's do this. One price, $5 million. Johnson was also very embarrassed to ask for a lion's price. This price is already the salary that the top teams in the advertising circle can get together, but now it is the salary of one person. However, Dyer attaches great importance to this publicity plan. Their annual publicity expenditure is even more than 100 million. In order to better increase their popularity, they did not intend to be stingy. Okay, it's $5 million, but it has to be paid in 2 installments. We will only pay $1 million before the filming starts, and the remaining $4 million will be paid after the advertisement is finished." The young department contact only thought for a few seconds, then nodded and put forward his own counter conditions. "This way, if the advertisement is not effective, there will be room for maneuver. We have no problem." Then, both parties signed their names on the proposed advertising contract, in duplicate, and kept them separately. Because Lyman had given the filming team a holiday, there was no one on hand, and he didn't want to reconvene for a while, so he simply found a professional advertising filming studio to cooperate. Then, Thomas was brought in. Dyer also built a suitable studio as instructed. When Lyman arrived with his team, Eva Green was already waiting at the Dyer branch in advance, and tried on clothes and makeup. She was happy to see Lyman, but there were so many people that she didn't dare to get close to him and interfere with everyone's work. After the lighting equipment and camera positions were temporarily arranged, Lyman took the advertising design copy and exchanged ideas with the head of the studio. "Hello, Mr. Zack Snyder. Just call me Zack." Director Lyman. Although he is older than the other party, in the director's line, qualifications are obviously more important. Zack Snyder was a little reserved. "Zack." Lyman smiled and said, "Okay, Mr. Zack, can I ask what you think of the concept of this short film? I have worked with Dyer before, and they seem to prefer gorgeous clothes and bright lenses to set off their brand." Zack Snyder objectively explained the advertising effect that Dyer wanted. "It's very vulgar, but it is a very popular aesthetic. The significance of Eva Green as the heroine of the advertisement is to use beauty and gorgeous clothes to set off the perfume, arouse the purchasing power of the people." Not long after the stylist changed Eva's clothes, Lyman came to check the effect. "To be honest, it is very fascinating. I didn't expect that it would be so beautiful with her hair tied up." "Eva, how is it? How much advertising fee did Dyer offer you?" Eva said, $300,000. "However, according to the agreement, I have to attend several brand promotional activities to get the full amount." "Damn, this is exploitation of labor." Lyman sighed and said, "Why, didn't Johnson fight for better conditions for you? Only $300,000 is too cheap for Dyer." "How could that be? I think it's good." Eva was very satisfied. The salary she received for filming the movie The Day After Tomorrow was about this amount. Now she can get it by just helping to promote it and shooting a few sets of commercials. It's very easy. It would have been unimaginable 2 years ago. Of course, this can't be blamed on Johnson. As an agent, he naturally cares about his clients and hopes to fight for better conditions. After all, his financial prospects are completely tied to Lyman, Eva and others. It's impossible not to be attentive. But Dyer is not a foolish rich man. He still has a clear positioning of value and benefits. After everything was ready, the short advertising film planned by Dyer also kicked off the shooting in the studio. The lighting on the scene was all soft, and when it hit people, it was like turning on a beauty camera, making the skin look very white, and any flaws would be covered by the strong light. With the help of the costume designer, Eva kept matching different styles. But without exception, they all highlighted the word beauty, sexy and gorgeous. The acting didn't require much vividness. Well, this advertisement shooting didn't require any acting skills at all. It was completely okay to face the camera naturally. Chapter 299 Director Zack wants to test the waters. Please subscribe and recommend. Since the duration of the advertisement needed to be well controlled, and there was no heavy set work and the number of shots was not large, Lyman only took 3 days to shoot the material and cut out a 4.5-minute short film. After adding the appropriate soundtrack, the task assigned to him by Dyer was basically completed. The only thing left was to ask Eva to re-record the narration of the promotional words in the advertisement. Compared with the production of the movie, these things were really easy to handle, so Lyman was in a very leisurely mood. Sitting in the lounge of the studio, sipping coffee, waiting for Thomas to finish his work, and then put the subtitles on, this order would be done. Not long after, Lyman did not wait for Thomas, but saw Zack Snyder push the door and walk in, sitting opposite him a little stiffly. "What's the matter?" Lyman asked curiously. In the recent days of filming, Zack Snyder has been acting as the assistant director of the studio, and the relationship between the two is quite familiar because of their cooperation. Lemon, does your film company still need manpower? Zack Snyder said firmly, as if he had mustered up his courage. What? What do you mean? Lemon had a prediction in his mind. Which director doesn't want to direct his own movie? What's more, Zack Snyder is a professional. Moreover, this guy will enter the advertising circle and set up an advertising shooting team. Isn't it because he wants to hone himself and find a suitable opportunity to enter the film industry when there is no opportunity? These days of cooperation with Lemon have given him some hope. He is actually very smart and knows that it is not easy to take this step without support. The most typical example is Michael Bay, who is also an advertising director. This guy's uncle is the executive director of Warner. Didn't he also shoot commercials for many years before he got a chance to direct a film project? He is 38 years old and has been shooting commercials for more than 10 years. His income is not low, but he doesn't want to continue like this. Seeing a possible opportunity appear, it is really unreasonable not to try it. He lowered his attitude and said, if your company is short of staff, can I join? Oh, and my studio, they are all very good. Lemon has been in contact with the shooting team brought by this guy these days, and they have very good shooting experience in all aspects. Hearing this, Lemon is of course very happy. After all departments of Firefly Pictures are short of staff. Welcome to join us. Lemon grabbed Zack Snyder's hand, fearing that he would regret it. However, this guy also has his own little calculations. Seeing that Lemon is easy to talk to, he took out a script from the file bag. It is impossible to say that Michael Bay's success has no impact on Zack Snyder. Seeing people in the same circle succeed naturally inspired Zack Snyder's ambition. At the same time, it also made him think of preparing to shoot his first feature film. Before this, although his main job has always been shooting commercials, he has also shot some short films experimentally. It feels good and has a certain degree of confidence. Later, by chance, a copywriter he had worked with before adapted a work, and he planned to use this script to test the waters. As for Zack Snyder, Lemon was not too unfamiliar. Moreover, this guy was different from the average new director, like James Wan, who came with a script when he was preparing to shoot a movie for the first time, but this guy actually brought a complete shooting report and a rough shooting budget. I think it was not a temporary impulse or a decision made on a whim, and he had made sufficient preparations. This also made Lemon quite relieved. Regardless of the quality of the project, this attitude is worthy of recognition. For a mature film work, it seems too rough to have only ideas without a complete and detailed shooting outline to assist. From this point of view, Zack Snyder obviously has rich production experience. Yes, after so many years, the advertisements can't have been shot in vain. The name of the movie on the script is Dawn of the Dead, and the story is also very simple. It tells that a society that was originally safe has become a hell on earth due to an unknown plague. All the people infected by the virus have become zombies, which will attack humans inexplicably and feed on human flesh and blood. What's more terrifying is that if the survivors come into close contact with these zombies, they will also be infected and become the same kind. The setting is actually not bad, but the subsequent plot feels very bloody. At least that's what Lemon thinks. What a great and glorious white man is the leader of the survivor group. He is smart and calm, cares about others, treats people sincerely, and is brave, and does not retreat when encountering things. And the female lead B, seeing that the survival resources in the shelter are getting less and less, she discusses with A to take everyone away together through the city full of zombies and escapes to an island without zombies. As for the supporting characters who are fighting for survival, under the influence of various great and glorious things, they unite again and work together, which also seems very fake. Lemon only feels that after watching it, there is an inexplicable faint sadness. If I didn't think Zack Snyder could be rescued, Lemon really wanted to roll his eyes at him. With this script, it's a toilet paper. Such a good background setting is wasted. As a result, the mainstream values of Hollywood are also brought out. The whole script includes fighting, bloody and large-scale charismatic protagonists, and the bloody and stupid behaviors of daily supporting roles. Putting aside the setting, it is simply an action movie with commercial element mixed together in zombie skin, which is to show how awesome the protagonists are when facing danger. The most important thing is, why is this setting so familiar? Are you remaking a movie? Yeah. Director Zack smiled shyly. It seems that this guy's not sure and wants to take the first step by remaking a classic old movie. I have to say that the idea is very pleasing and smart. With the experience of the previous work, plus personal understanding, the difficulty of shooting is definitely greatly reduced. It is perfect for testing the waters. But the problem is that there is an obvious disadvantage to doing this. It is not pleasing. Why? Because there is a previous work in front. No matter how it is shot, it will inevitably be compared with others. That's it. Even if the filming is innovative, the wine and the wine jug will definitely not be highly evaluated, and it will naturally fall behind. Moreover, this is still a relatively good situation. If it is not filmed well, it may be labeled as a classic. Just like the movie adapted from a novel, it is always the hardest to satisfy the original book fans. The same is true. Dawn of the Dead is destined to be compared with it, and it always feels like a thankless task. Chapter 300 Digging Deeper. Please subscribe and recommend. The original work of Dawn of the Dead is the second part of the Death trilogy shot by director George A. Romero, and the beginning of this zombie culture comes from Night of the Living Dead in 1968, which is the first part of the trilogy. There is a gap of nearly 10 years between the two works. The reason is that when this setting was first launched, the director himself failed to conceive it well. It seemed very rough, and the market did not buy it. It was not until 1979 that George shot Dawn of the Dead with $500,000. After its release, it was praised for its box office results of more than $20 million in the United States and more than $50 million in the world. However, director George A. Romero is also a peculiar. In addition to being able to shoot zombie themes well and sell well, he has failed to shoot any other themes. Therefore, he has never been able to come to the stage since then. Over time, he has slowly declined. In the years that followed, it is not that no one has thought about remaking this classic old film, but the problem is that the copyright owner Abraham does not intend to restart it. It was not until the appearance of Eric Newman that he was impressed by the good adaptation of the story and some improved zombie settings. After many twists and turns, the director of this project fell on Zack Snyder. But these few people, combined, did not have enough filming funds and the required distribution channels, so they thought of cooperating with others. Firefly Pictures was one of their options. However, after Lyman read the script, he felt that the plot was too old-fashioned, and he did not agree at the first time. Instead, he asked Zack Snyder to call the screenwriter of the script. The next morning, the three of them gathered in Snyder's studio. After greeting each other, Lyman said directly, "If you want me to invest, it's okay to help with distribution, but this script needs to be changed." Screenwriter Eric Newman is not a person who values his own creation very much, or this person really hopes that his project can run smoothly, otherwise he would not think of remaking an old movie. Those who can do this are all for money. So when he saw the investment opportunity, he happily agreed. "Mr. Lyman, you tell me. The style of this film has to change. It doesn't mean that zombie films must be scary and bloody. Have you ever thought about changing your thinking?" Lyman suggested. "Have you seen Resident Evil?" "I have heard of it." Eric was very honest. "Well, this movie adapted from the game has only been released once, and the market response is not great. It is the sequels that have accumulated fame slowly. That movie has a similar setting, and the story is also very innovative. So if we also want to make a zombie movie that takes place in modern society, we can't take the same approach, and the protagonist group doesn't necessarily have to be in danger every time and overcome the crisis. Do you understand what I mean? To abuse the protagonist?" Eric Newman looked confused. Lyman simply found a piece of white paper from his desk and took out a pencil from the pen holder beside him. He quickly drew a scene map, which was similar to a train station. He said as he drew, "Zombie-themed works, whether comics or games, or even the Resident Evil I mentioned, have all gone their own way. If you blindly restore Dawn of the Dead, it will just be a reliance on the old, without any novelty, and it may not be accepted by the market, so you must innovate. I don't see much innovation in your script." Then how should the plot development be designed? Human nature. Think about it. In a society that suddenly changes, what will happen to the people when they encounter an infection crisis similar to the end of the world? Isn't everyone's choice the choice made in the face of disaster interesting? Change the perspective from zombies to humans. Will the length be too large? It's hard to express it specifically. Eric Newman, the screenwriter, saw the problem at a glance. Group portraits have always been the most difficult to portray, which is why movies rarely magnify the pattern. For example, The Day After Tomorrow, although it is a global natural disaster, it only focuses on the city of New York and a group of suffering people. The same is true. Lemon nodded, full of praise. You are right. So we have to take the initiative to reduce the scene, to specifically show the story. What do you think will happen if an infected person sneaks into a moving train? He handed over the drawn scene picture. In the narrow carriage, there are infected zombies on one side and panicked people on the other. This is a great idea. Zack Snyder watched from the side and couldn't help saying, using a moving train as a scene carrier directly intensifies the conflict of the drama. It's very interesting. Because it happens suddenly, it tests how the people will react. Eric Newman continued, the entire station has become purgatory, and the difficulty of survival has been infinitely magnified? Yes, that's it. Lemon nodded and said, so such a movie tests the group portrait more. It is not concentrated on a few single protagonists, and there are no bloody large-scale shots that zombie movies usually like. It's just more cruel. Listen, it feels like it will be very exciting. Zack Snyder was completely aroused by such a creative setting and wanted to shoot. Eric Newman looked at Lemon. What about the main line of the story? How to design it? Lemon thought for a moment and said, let's start from the perspective of a father and daughter. The father, the male protagonist A, is an office worker and has a daughter who just divorced. Single parent family? Yes, this is to design a reason for them to go to the train station. Lemon continued, during the holiday, the daughter clamored to see her mother, and the father had no choice but to take leave to take her there. As for the train route, the final stop is New York. I have thought of the name of the movie. It's called New York Trip. As for how the virus broke out, you can think about how to lay clues reasonably, and then how the infected people got into the station. You can also conceive of it so that the audience can see some abnormalities, but don't know what will happen specifically. Maintain a certain sense of mystery. Well, I will think about it carefully. Eric Newman took a pen and wrote down the ideas. After saying that, he hesitated and said, but if this is the case, there will be many movie scenes, and we will have to deal with the New York City government and the cost. Originally, the budget for the project they conceived was only $25 million because the cost of group performances was too high. But now, if they follow Lemon's idea, a rough calculation shows that it may not be possible to shoot without a base of $50 million. This is without considering the participation of big-name stars. If first-line actors are invited to participate, it will definitely be a big production worth hundreds of millions. Don't worry about this. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.